Hello. Welcome everybody to the very first YAP2ASIA, the inaugural Better Late Than Never. Here we finally are. I am Black and Blue, and with me we got some amazing gentlemen for you all. We're gonna pass it around as this is the first episode. Maybe you don't know who we are, so let's get to know everybody else here. How you guys doing, first and foremost?
We're good, man. Ready for this?
Yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourselves? I mean, you guys have obviously done a lot in the Valorant space, but for those who might not know, let's get the show going here. Quack, since you are the
Oh.
man of the hour, you're there at location. How you doing and what's up?
Oh my gosh, I just got to the hotel. What's up? I mean, yeah, in Jakarta, I'm Quack. Actually Singaporean caster. Uh I guess I do a little bit of Pacific. I do a bit of game changers here and there. And right now I'm doing Ascension Jakarta 2024.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah.
Big shot right here. All right.
Yeah, the topic of the hour. Next up on this list, we've got Mr. Sleepy himself. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm sleepy. I've done a bit of everything, I guess. I started out as a coach back in 2021 for one of the Indonesian teams. And then I transitioned into doing some talent work as well. And now I'm finally here, settled with PaperX. Doing more of the business and background stuff. Kind of tired of being in front of camera and smiling. But hey, they got me here again. So I'm back.
Smile more.
What do you
Smile
mean?
more.
Keep smiling.
This is your
I
idea.
will
What
do
do you
that.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
We'll
But yeah,
pin
I'm
on you,
sleepy.
but we got Mr. Paperthin here as well. Clint, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, really excited to be here. Yeah, I'm paper thin. I've been casting esports for oh god, 6.5 years or something like that now. Been doing Valorant since First Strike Korea. So yeah, really excited to be here. Just another Pacific boy with Quack, and I'm chilling in Seoul, South Korea. That's where I make my home. So really excited to really start talking about our region a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, isn't that why we all kind of came here together to do that? But we cannot start to talk about the region without introducing the man himself, the big boy in the table right now, in
Oh.
the chair, the legend himself, Mr. Valor to Asia
Oh my
personified,
god.
Wandy. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, what's up? So yeah, I've been doing Fallout Asia since 2021. Used to do CS:GO to Asia back in days, but yeah, doing most of the stuff for Fallout Asia. Any memes, any articles, any social posts that
Oh
you
man.
you see from Fallout Asia. Yeah, mostly made by me.
All the memes.
Damn.
All
Our
the
meme
shit
lord.
posts and memes.
Yeah,
The meme king.
everything, almost everything you see is coming from that man. And I just realized I haven't introduced myself. Hi, I'm not
Yes.
Who's
Nice to
this?
meet you guys. I'm a caster as well in SEA from the start of the VCT. I also was a coach at South Built for a while. And sometimes I write for Mr. Juandi because he needs, well, asked to, rather, I asked, like, hey, hi, I like you. Can I help you? And so here we are. So, I mean, this whole entire idea, I guess we all came together about it to really find a group of people who can kind of talk about our scene as a whole. And as we go throughout the years, it's been 4 years coming, I think, boys. We're in the fourth year of the
Yeah.
VCT. As I said earlier, better late than never. But I want to hear your thoughts and this whole idea before we actually talk about the topics at hand. Mr. Sleepy, I want to start with you. This whole
Okay.
podcast thing. What is YAP2Asia really?
What is Yap to Asia? Honestly, it's just I guess this notion that I don't know, we feel a bit left out. I guess like in Pacific, we don't have really a big voice that can talk about everything that's happening around in our region. And I just felt like it's always been a missed opportunity for anyone really to just jump in and provide more exposure for the scene. And I did kind of try like back in I don't know, I guess 2022 when I started like a YouTube channel to talk about the scene. I think it was around the Challengers time before there was partnerships or franchising. And I felt like there was a good reception for that. It's just that I'm too fucking lazy. And I just cannot bring myself to continue doing that on my own. And so I just kind of put it in a back burner and just left it. And thankfully, it hasn't burned my house down. But there's always been something that's knocking in the back of my head. Just hey, there's this thing, you can actually do this, And then I joined PeopleX, and then Juandi obviously as YAP2ASIA. He's already doing covering, the scene. But maybe now it's feeling like a good time for us to start something fresh. And I guess this is something that could be that thing that we've always wanted to do. And so we reached out to you guys, and thankfully you guys said yes. No real big hassle before we actually decided, yeah, let's do it. And now we're here. So I'm really grateful, guys. Thank you.
And
I
look,
don't think
Pacific finally won a trophy, right? So now it's
Yeah,
time. Like
right.
now it's time,
It's
baby.
actually time. You know what? That's actually a good point, because we felt like doing this, but we haven't really won anything. So if we talk about our region, it's just
Yeah.
going to be talking about how we're left behind in terms of competition. So now we can actually say, yeah, we did win.
Well,
So
We
as
did.
aforementioned, better late
Once.
than never, aren't we? Finally here.
Yeah.
Boys, I would like to thank you all for getting this show started. Obviously, this is what we've been waiting for quite a while to be able to actually do. And as Sleepy did mention, thank you for your very, very honest take. We've been too lazy to do it, but now here we actually are to talk about things. So let's actually get to the yapping for this show. And we're going to start things off here with a bit of a recap from what we saw near the end of the Tier 1 scene in the championships of the VCT. We look at the Pacific teams and what we saw from them. You're looking specifically here, especially at Gen G, which we did know were able to win a Masters. We look at DRX as well, Paperthin and Talon on how they kind of performed throughout the year. Let's wrap things together in a nice little bundle. Paperthin, I want to start with you. How did things go, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it went well. I was there doing some casting and working on the analyst desk a bit. I mean, obviously for Pacific, it was definitely a disappointing performance. The event itself was really good. I think we had some really high level play, a lot of really fun moments, but I think overall, yeah, the Pacific teams were left lacking. I mean, Gen G and that group of death didn't really come out of it maybe where we expected. Having some tough runs against, Sentinels and Heretics. The run back against Sentinels didn't go so good. But yeah, I mean, I think DRX a pleasant surprise. They really started to pick it up there at the end of stage 2 as well. I think I'm really hopeful for the future of Pacific, not just because they won Shanghai, but because you're seeing a lot more competition. The region itself being, together for the last couple of years has forced out a lot better play, a lot higher quality of play. The players themselves are really starting to pick it up. So yeah, champions maybe didn't go so great. And I think maybe we could talk team by team, but Gen G's the one I think we're all going to focus on because of the fact that they were the best team in Pacific by far, winning the stage 2 trophy, winning the Masters trophy, getting second in Madrid and all this stuff. So they definitely just kind of lost steam, I think. I could probably go pretty in depth to that, but it was really just, it felt to me like the things that they were able to do, like win some crazy, 1vx rounds and have these big moments and all those things that were kind of working really well for them. The good game calling, by Munchkin just seemed to kind of fall away, and this was what I was worried about. In fact, I talked about it in a content piece before stage 2, where I was worried that maybe Gen G would kind of burn out because they've just been doing too well, and it's so hard to be that good for that long in Valorant because of the quality of play, the quality of teams, and everything. And eventually, it did kind of rear its ugly head.
That's one way to put it. I mean, we were. I think ultimately enough, the way that Pacific teams did this year was arguably by far the best we've seen in total. Maybe some other teams didn't perform to the same kind of heights that we saw from them in previous years, but ultimately we finally won a damn master. So I think that counts for some.
It does. It does.
It does.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, honestly, like Paperthin said, like the quality of play have risen up quite significantly in the past year. But I do sympathize with these teams that are trying to stay at the top, because it is one hell of a season, dude. Like if you're a team that's constantly qualifying to all these masters and obviously champions at the end, you just get no break whatsoever. And this is one of the problems that they're trying to solve for next year, by stretching out the calendar a little bit. And I do think it might help in some ways. But hey, you're still a qualifying team. I don't think it's going anywhere. So I guess it's a question of whether these players and teams can manage their energy. It's a bit of a marathon in that sense, meaning that you have to kind of be able to, I guess, be aware of your shortcomings and be able to manage all those burnout that's gonna happen throughout the season. And if you can't do that, then I guess you're not really champion material. Like a certain team that I know is based in Singapore, of which I am a part of. And yeah, it's just unfortunate because we do see a lot of hope, especially going to Shanghai. I felt like we were kind of favored to win that, and the sentiment around the internet is that Paperx is going to win this time. And sure enough, it didn't turn out too well, and I would credit that to the feeling of burnout. And so it's something to be solved for, not just for us, but for a lot of the other teams, and not just in Pacific, in any other region as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, because like the players are, they have to kind of move their whole life to Korea for a little bit just to like compete and dedicate so much time to this one competition and everything. And even if it isn't really burnout, it's also like just being able to stay on top of all the competition. I think that's one of the things that if not Paper X happens to like, Genji, even DRX a little bit,
Oh yeah.
like you might be able to win so much, but if you're going like tournament after tournament, at some point with all the new patches, new maps coming out,
Yeah, dude.
and then like some of the other teams got so much tape to study up on, and it's hard for you to keep on innovating at some point.
It almost feels like every expectation we had kind of got subverted in a way where who you think is going to make it happen is not who eventually ends up in that spot. I think for the longest time, for example, for Korean teams, everybody was thinking it's going to be DRX, right? If there has to be one Korean team, it's going to be DRX. Well, no, it was Genji, the first actual Korean team to make stuff happen, to make it to the finals and actually win it. That was them for a Masters. And then you look on over to other teams, like maybe, as Sleepy said, everybody was looking at Paper Rex. Maybe they're going to be the next guys to be able to do it, right? Maybe they're going to be the first championship team from Pacific, but we end up finding out it's not even a Pacific team from Asia that wins the whole darn thing. It's EDG coming from China. Out of the woodwork, you got some amazing players in that side. I know none of us necessarily are huge experts in that scene because it's a big scene and everybody's been focused on their different strengths, but I mean, guys, who saw this coming? A championship win from them.
Nope. 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 That's it. That's as elaborate as we can be, I think. We did not expect this at all, to be honest. But having said that,
I think like around top 6, I started to maybe feel like they could do it. Like that's where I started to be like, oh, okay, well maybe there's a chance. But before that, no.
Absolutely not. And you can't really blame most of, I think, not just us, but even the Western world, the rest of the global VCT scene, because you're looking at the team and yes, we've been impressed by EDG in the past. We've seen Kang, what he does, but for them to pick up these players like, Nobody and Smoggy and just absolutely smeeg everybody else, you saw our reactions here. Nobody expected that. I don't even know who to ask here. Maybe Quack. Why? Why EDG so good?
Whoa, that's a tough question. I mean, I think the stars just kind of aligned. If you look at like everyone who made it to that sort of like top 4, Leviathan, maybe they had Leviathan. Sorry, excuse me. They maybe faced some of their own like issues here and there. And Heretics, they were really hungry for it as well. But maybe just I don't know, something was a little bit off, or just EDG had a little bit more of that strategic advantage, and also just the firepower that they're providing with so many of these players. And then at the same time, I mean, we can't talk about EDG without talking about Kang. The whole team hinges so much on this guy and like his performance throughout the whole thing, the whole tournament. You can just see, and if you don't see it, you feel it, how hungry they really are for that win. And even just that, like just looking at the winning interview, like there's just so much emotion, so much grandeur and like antics behind how they all perform, and like they were, everyone's in tears, and the dude got up and sang. The dude was singing in the interview. Dude. That's like for the country,
Yeah. Can we talk about his performance though in that finals? Like that's got to be one of the best performances in a grand finals ever. If you look at the screen now, it says there it's average of 309 ACS consistently across 5 maps.
Didn't he break
that?
Like, a few
is
records or something?
insane. Yeah, it might be a record-breaking total kill
it is.
for Kang. It is, right? So, dude, having done that, being like the ultra carry of a country and just being able to represent that and actually take the trophy. It's just main character vibes, dude. Like Kang was destined to win champions this year.
He was
And
him.
And that
He was him.
round on Abyss where he grabbed the Guardian,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
my God. I was just like,
To the B site.
this is it. He is him. He is taking over. Like you said, the main character energy is there. And
Yeah.
on B side on Abyss. And I was like, oh, and he shot the player out of the air. Now I can't remember from Heretics, but I was
Sure.
just like, what in the world is this? Shoots the jet out of the air and then just goes back and winning that and managed to get them over the line. I mean, just a
Yeah.
game, like a career defining play right there.
Shit. He was like
Yeah.
in the zone, and I know like Des kind of talked about it. What do the kids they say these days? Nobody likes the term, but plus like what, 1 million aura and whatever.
Yes.
That's
Plus
kinda-
1 million aura, Sigma male.
Who are you
Sigma-
been hanging out
Oh.
with?
He knows it. Sleepy knows.
Dude, I gotta know these stuff, man. It's literally the part of the
Clint,
work.
do you-
But
do
yeah,
you know what these
Glazed
kids are talking
tongue
about?
every now and then.
what is that, BNB? What?
Clint, do you know what these kids are talking about right now?
Yeah.
No. No, I do. I actually have to stay up to date with it too, unfortunately. It is
No,
part of
he's
the job.
skibbity.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
I know what skibbity toilet is, okay?
I can't believe we are destined to be chronically
Young
online
whippersnappers.
by
Yeah.
our jobs.
I'm
but,
surrounded. I am like the oldest caster in like tier 1 esports, I swear to God.
Are you? Okay,
I'm
how old are you?
surrounded.
How old?
I'm
Are
Yeah.
39.
All right, you probably.
Okay, yeah, you win, bro.
Yeah.
All right. I was like trying
I
I
was,
was,
I
trying
was
to-
about to debate, but nah.
Yeah, me too. But then okay, you know what?
Maybe
We'll
there's
take
some
it.
CS casters older than me. I don't know, but
Maybe.
You know, Paper,
Hey,
you're
respect, man.
like org owner age. You know what I'm saying?
I'm getting there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the age where that thought has crossed my mind. I'll
Oh,
put it that
shit.
way.
Oh, gee.
What you gonna
Paper
call
Thin
it?
Esports.
Another paper?
I don't know, man.
Or
Yeah.
esports?
Oh, but you
Hmm.
guys already have the name. Yeah, I can't
That's true.
I can't do that.
Unfortunately.
We have that weird connection because we both have paper in our names.
Yes,
So
That's
for
right.
no reason.
That's right. We vibe. But yeah, just a shout out quickly to TH. Unfortunately for them, they had to face that exact same situation twice, back to
Mm.
back. They lost to Genji in Shanghai, and then they lost again against DDG in Seoul. And I feel like they have one of the strongest fundamentals nowadays. And I know we're kind of fringing on touching a different region now, but at least I just wanted to say that TH is one of the strongest teams right now going into the next season. And I'm really excited to see them play in an international event again. And hopefully we can catch up. And
Are they not
do some damage.
2023 Paper Rex? Are they?
Yeah, you're right. Actually.
Essentially.
Sorry.
It's okay. Runner up energy.
Rub
God
it
damn it.
into the wound.
It's okay. I'll take it. We've been trained to take it for quite some time now, so I think I'm pretty good at handling it
All right. That's
at this
good.
point.
Well, hopefully for you, past traumas don't repeat themselves. And speaking of that,
Oh,
let's
God.
move on over from yesterday's news, as we're gonna go on over to the actual event that's happening, where my man Quack is at specifically. He was a bit late for this, for us recording. I assume he's only saving another life, just as he always does.
No, it's,
But as we,
it's freaking Bintang.
Bintang,
story?
hello.
I'm kidding.
I see you found my friend. You've met my friend. Welcome.
what is Bintang, CP?
Bintang
not know.
is a brand of very
Alcoholic.
high-spirited nature, and
Oh.
I think it's got to be one of the best things that you come here to Indonesia for. So if you find yourself anywhere in Indonesia, be it Bali, Jakarta, or wherever you might end up, just find my friend Bintang at any store.
Yeah, that reminds me of when xffero used to be named TehBotol.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Pivotal.
The-
Paper
that's a
thin.
thing.
I wanted to ask
What
because
does that
obviously
mean?
Quack, BNB, and myself we've casted TehBotol when he was TehBotol, but you
Yeah.
casted him when he was xffero already, right?
Yeah. I
Did you
think I
ever-
might have casted him once when he was TehBotol.
Right.
Like at LCQ,
was it
at one of the
because-
LCQs.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
So
back
yeah.
in the day.
Anyway,
2022.
do you know what TehBotol is?
No,
Okay,
I have no
you
idea.
s- You have no idea. Okay, so TehBotol is actually a beverage brand in Indonesia that is massively popular and is actually tasty. So if you come here, definitely try it out. And they have the less sugar and no sugar versions nowadays for us that needs to be aware of our sugar intake more nowadays. But yeah, it does taste pretty good. And TehBotol unfortunately has to change his name, and I'm not sure if it was because of copyright
licensing?
infringement
Oh,
or IP licensing. I don't know, but he
Well, I
had to
guess
change
like
it.
Is that
I
the
mean,
real? The story I heard was like he asked for a sponsorship and they were like no, and he was like, "Well, then screw you. I'm gonna
Fuck you!
change my name."
We ain't giving you free advertising.
That's the
Okay,
story
yeah,
I heard.
that's a more fun version, so we'll go with that.
Yeah,
all right,
there you
not
go.
to
I'm
derail
changing
the
my
conversation
caster
though.
name. Yeah, I'm changing my caster name to Coca-Cola.
Oh
That's all there is
man,
to
Oh,
it.
there you
Alright.
go.
I guess
I
we'll
actually
see
just
you.
heard. So TehBotol, which means like bottled
yeah.
tea, right?
Bottle tea.
Apparently,
Correct.
like, did it originate like the very first time it came out as a product? It's just a box drink.
It's a box.
One of the
Yeah. No, actually, it did come out as a bottle, like
as a bottle first.
the
Oh, okay.
OG Coca-Cola bottles, like that. But then
Ooh,
they turned out with the boxed packaging. But it's still called
still
TehBotol.
TehBotol.
So it's
People
a
call it Teh
boxed
box.
bottle tea, is what it is.
All right.
I know it's weird, but you know what? We're getting too sidetracked. Why don't we go back to what we're actually here for? Um,
My
I
bad.
yeah,
love it.
Ascension, baby.
I love, yeah. I mean, TehBotol lore and Indonesian drink lore, definitely part of the segment's unexpected today, but isn't that the great thing about this? The fact that there are
Yes.
unexpected things that happen, and one of those things are the fact that we are even in Jakarta in the first place. This was supposed to happen in Japan when we're talking about Ascension Pacific, but things swapped on over, and I heard Mr. Sleepy, you have a little story you want to share about this?
Yeah, sure. So this was around a time when Challengers Indonesia Split 2 LAN was happening. It was at a mall here. It's called Taman Anggrek Mall. It was packed, super fun. We did it last year as well. Uh, it's super exciting to just know that there are so many people interested in this game in the first place, and they would show up for these stuff. And around that time, obviously we're in close connection with the Riot people, right? So we do talk a lot, just as friends and also as colleagues. And they were telling us, the Indonesian cohort of the Riot office were telling us, just briefly and kind of in a cryptic way, that hey guys, we have a global team here,
As they
and
are.
they're like, keep it hush hush, but it might be something exciting. And we were like, what? Come on, tell us. Yeah. And it turns out it was around that time where the decision was made that Pacific Ascension was going to be moved to Jakarta, and they were there to scout out venues. So they were actually planning to host Ascension at another venue, I think, but couldn't get it in time because this was so sudden, right? This decision was made last minute, and so there wasn't enough time and preparation to go into it. So big props to Riot and the organizers here to make it happen still, despite having the tightest of deadlines. And so there you have it. We are now in Jakarta unexpectedly. And I can't say it's the best thing for the players, because I know for a fact that the players, especially the ones in Indonesia, Boom Esports, they were excited to go to Japan, dude, because Japan is
Who wouldn't
Japan.
be? Who
Yeah,
wouldn't
who
be?
wouldn't be? I would be. So they were already excited, and then they received the news that it is going to be in Japan. And I talked about this as well in another content piece, saying that sure, they might be disappointed that they don't get to go to Japan, but if it takes not going to Japan to win Ascension at home ground, I would say it's worth it. So that's why I think Boom is actually primed to take this whole thing. Even though we will talk about this later, they kind of choked towards the end against DSG. But hey, I'm happy they made it to top 4, so now they can greet their home crowd at Britama Arena. That's fun stuff.
Well, that's lovely to hear. What really do you think is the biggest aspect of it that matters the most to, I guess, the Indonesian crowd? The fact that we have this in Jakarta, they weren't expecting it. Obviously, is it more
Obviously
of
not.
a welcome surprise, or is it like a, we'll work with it? Yeah.
There's no way it's the latter, dude. It's obviously a welcome surprise, right? We know for a fact that the fandom here is pretty great, and actually for Preprex, even for us, like not quite half, but close to half of our fandom is actually here in Indonesia. So we know we got the people who love the game, who would love to watch people, or the pros just come here and play their hearts out on stage. And you can see here in the video, this was in Taman Anggrek, the mall, and we were always like hoping for something to happen to Jakarta, and we just did not expect it to happen so soon, to be honest. And so when it got announced, we were like so hyped and so surprised, and we don't really know how to react, to be honest. And honestly, there are still some, you know, negative and pessimistic people saying, are we going to be able to do it because it's in Indonesia? We have a history of technical issues, and we do have some experiences with electricity not being stable. So we were always jokingly saying like, "Oh, if they do it here, we're gonna have a half a day technical issue just because there's no electricity." And thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. And overall, I think it's just a confidence boost, to be honest, because then people can see that yeah, we can do it here. We can do it in Indonesia, especially if the crowd shows up this Friday. Then people will see that the fandom here is great, and who knows, maybe that could be a primer for next events to be hosted here. So all in all, it's a very happy surprise for us, and we're very grateful for it. And unfortunately, I cannot be there. The one time Ascension or an event goes to Jakarta, I cannot attend because I have to go to a friend's wedding.
Oh no!
Is that
that's a good
age,
reason, though.
brothers? Is that
That's a good reason.
They
getting
don't
invited to a
understand,
wedding?
you know what I'm saying?
You'll
They
be
don't
at the
understand.
wedding, and then you're like, okay, now the ceremony, blah blah, and you're like, I'm watching. Hold up.
You're gonna be that
I-
guy. You're gonna be that guy on your
I will
phone
be.
during the wedding.
I will be 100%. I'll still tune in.
He's got an earbud in, listen to something else.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fuck it.
Well, I can echo those sentiments. Of course, you know, when you're especially in SEA, you never really expect these kind of international big events to come your way. If it's in Asia, it's always maybe, you know, in Korea and Japan, but you never really see it come towards SEA often when we're talking about, you know, big global type events. So for Indonesia, I guess I have to say I'm glad that you guys also have some great production crews there because
Oh,
at least from what
yes.
I've worked with, some of you guys are really, really splendid to work with. So obviously crunch time's happening, but Indonesia, you guys are making it happen. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see SEA getting some love this
Yes,
time around, even
sir.
if it's
Yes,
like a
sir.
last second option. But speaking of options, let's move on over real quick now to what we got next ahead, which is which options didn't make it out of the group stage? Who were we expecting to actually get into the furthest top four, but never really made it there?
I think Nico, you black and blue, you got to take this one.
Oh, he does. I think you're right, Quack.
I think you're right, Quack.
I plead the
Why don't
fifth.
you?
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
got to be the number one team on everybody's mind
Yes.
that didn't make it.
Yes.
Really?
Little bit,
Am I
little bit.
biased? Nice.
Them are disguised, but yeah, I think Naus I had potentially getting that far. Black and blue, explain.
Yeah. All right. Explain. I'm gonna have to own it up for the rest of the Filipino community. Our bad. Okay, our bad. We thought this one was ours. We thought we could make it there. We thought it was easy picking, but our bad. No, of course not. Of course the boys practiced. Of course the boys did everything we can. They can. And of course, you know, after especially last Ascension, ending up in the top fourth kind of really gave hopes that hey, we can make something here. We can make another Filipino team make it out to the Pacific. They can make it to tier 1 competition. I'm sure teams like DSG also kind of felt the same, especially when you had Juicy there who thought he could make it back to the top. But sometimes the stories just aren't there. Even if we write it for ourselves, it's not the way things pan out. And you look at, especially I think here now, it's one of their biggest problems. It just seemed like they were a lot less, I guess, cohesive from the get-go, and not just from Ascension, even from VCT Philippines. From stage 1, they lost. They lost the VCT Philippines. They weren't the winner. They made it to the grand final, but even their run there wasn't necessarily the best. And in stage 2, yes, they won, but it came down to a best of 5, with 3 of those reaching multiple overtimes out of those 5 maps. Barely won, barely scraped by, and it shouldn't have been. They should have been dominating their local scene, but they didn't. And that's a credit, yes, to the players in the local scene, but also to Naos, I guess, kind of losing a bit of what was working last time around. Now, I'm not going to say it's because they gave up some crucial players, because the players that they got were great, right? Having Mojer back is great. Having Nexi is actually not many people know of Nexi, but when you're talking about some of the Philippines' greatest youngest players that you guys know of, Envy, right? You look at Jeremy, right? And then you look at 2GE as well. Nexi was always in that conversation, being in that generation of the best new talent that the Philippines has got. And now he finally gets his shot at the international stage. Unfortunately, he doesn't get far, but I think it's kind of a disservice to him because he wasn't able to really show what he's got, I think, in terms of, going up against some of the big guns. But in the end, now they have a lot of work to do. Obviously, there's still a stage 3 for the challenger scene, but as of the moment, I think they were at least my pick to make it to the top 4 who didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after Papi Chulo's performance, dude. Like, that guy
Dude.
is
Get him a
goated.
team.
Dude,
Oh
he
my God.
clutch after clutch after clutch. I thought he would have been able to carry the whole team just by himself
Legit.
and make it to top 4. And
He's always been great. I mean,
always.
just for reference, his
Uh-huh.
and especially Papi Chulo, he was a player who, since he was franchise ready before there was even a franchise, is how I'm going to say things. I always thought that he was bigger than not just the Philippine scene, even bigger than the SEA scene. I think this man is a big deal. And there's a reason why he had the most amount of clutches last year for Ascension, because he just is him sometimes.
Yeah.
It kills me he's not on a tier 1 team. He's really, really good. I mean, I think part of the problem is, like, in general, there's a lot of really strong controllers out there, especially Omen players, because a whole bunch of like crack duelists and stuff went to Omen, or just in general, Omen just seems to bring out like really awesome players like Karan for Genji or something. But even at, Ascension this year, there's a lot of really good controller players, not just Omen, Viper players as well. Like Persia, obviously, for SPG. Ace is playing pretty good for Riddle. So it's tough because their team kind of got overshadowed. But man, Papi Chulo, last year and this year, I'm just like, just give this guy a team, please. He's so good.
For sure.
Plus, I'm sure you'd love to say Papi Chulo on cast.
I do love saying it.
It's really fun. I just love going Papi.
Yeah,
Papi. Hi, Papi.
I could hear the joy in Quack's voice whenever he says Papi with another.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was that round. Like, was it against like Oblivion Force or something on Lotus?
Yeah.
It's like a 1-on-4 or something, and
Yeah,
like
it was a 1-on-4.
you don't think he's gonna make it out of that. Like, there's so many, and they also had kind of a crossfire. Like, you can tell Oblivion Force, they're gonna play off of each other's contact. You peek one guy, the next guy's gonna come at you. Somehow, I guess he anticipated that, and he was able to just like flick onto the next guy and just kept going. I was like, I was losing my mind.
It's coming to a point with Papi Chulo, you just expect him to, clutch. There's even casts on record with me and Dax in the Philippine scene where we see Papi Chulo in a 1v3 on Ascent B site. Whenever it's Ascent B site, we're like, all right, we're just going to stop casting and tell you guys how we're about to be right in the fact that Papi Chulo is going to clutch this. So, unfortunately for him, it doesn't work out for now. But how about other teams you guys think that could have or should have made it out but didn't?
Honestly, for me, it's kind of expected the top 4. I did in another podcast say my picks for the other 2 top 4s, aside from Boom and Full Sense, were Revenants.
You're cheating on us, Sleepy?
No. It was another thing that I was invited to before we actually had an idea for this. But anyway.
Likely story.
Yeah. I predicted Boom Esports, obviously. It's mandatory. And then Full Sense, I always believed to be very strong, and they did prove us right. The other 2, I was kind of picking just for the I don't know, just for the vibes, it was Revenant and JFT. Unfortunately for Revenant, it didn't work out. JFT as well lost to peak Rito order, I believe, because they destroyed them quite handily. And I'm kind of scared for Boom, to be honest, right now. But the rest of the teams, obviously, honestly, for me, it wasn't really in my mind that they were gonna make it to top 4 in the first place, so it wasn't really that much of a surprise. Sin Prisa, I would say, have been the favorites for this whole ascension, and they kind of proved that as well. Not at the start though, because we saw that they weren't really up to speed yet. But then came Boom Esports, they just destroyed us very handily. But yeah, top 4, not really unpredictable. But the rest, yeah.
All right. I would have expected you to say DSG maybe.
Grumble. Grumble
I
is
think
Grumble
yeah.
is so good, dude.
So good.
He is
so good.
crazy. Oh my god. Like he
Agreed.
needs a tier 1 team as well. Like, oh my, I've been so impressed with him. I
What
didn't
about
yeah, this is DSG I just had concerns about just the consistency, I guess. It just didn't feel like they're kind of running a lot of double duelist stuff, and
Yeah.
sometimes that doesn't, you have to have just absolutely cracked games consistently. I mean, Vera kind of up and down, Juicy kind of up and down.
Mhm.
You just have to be running teams over with double duelist, and you have to have a immaculate defensive side protocols to make that work a lot of the time if you're not just head and shoulders above your opponents with your firepower. So that's kind of the reason I didn't lean towards DSG. The top 4 for me worked out basically how I had it, except I actually had like an idiot. I had Sin Prisa losing to Boom and just like flipping the spots where they were at. I thought they'd get
I
I
respect
thought
that.
Sin Prisa, yeah, because I was a little bit worried about Sin Prisa coming into this just with some of the consistency, and I think Boom being at home, I thought maybe they'd beat him the first time, and then on the run back, Sin Prisa would beat them in the lower finals.
Mm.
But yeah, other than that, this is basically exactly how I thought things would shake out.
Fair enough. I do think like one of the slightly unexpected, maybe not so much, but honorable mention would be Revenant. Because like
Yeah.
some of the players on that team, I mean, we can talk about Kr1stal and stuff, but I feel like the Kazakhs are really, really
For sure.
fun to watch. Like the way that they just like play together sometimes. Like I think throughout some of the challengers runs that they had a little bit inconsistent, or like there are some things that they need to shake off, like whether or not Sultan was a rookie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then, like up in some of these lower bracket games that they played, they were just it looked different. The very first game against SPG, I mean, everyone was like, "Yeah, you're crazy if you think Revenant's gonna win." I was like, maybe, but maybe they'll have a chance. And then they
Yeah.
started winning like the first few rounds, right? And it's like
7 straight.
It was
they
7-0,
looked
man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, 7-0.
7-0
I was like,
lead.
I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna. And then no, SVG just.
I think
Yeah.
ultimately
But they looked
they're-
really good.
I have to agree. Like, I think Revenant and South Asia as a whole, I think it's a much better showing this year compared to what we saw from Orangutan last year. And that's no harp on Orangutan, but you definitely could see that the representative this time at least arguably performed better. Maybe not the highest bar, but they did kind of surprise us in some of those games. They absolutely stomped Lo-Fi for one, which is a great showing, I think, of what they could do. But ultimately enough, I guess DSG just had their number. And Quack, I mean, how do you feel about DSG in the first place? You're the one from Singapore. You're the one from that region. What really is kind of, I guess, the not storyline, but I guess how do people perceive DSG there? Because from the outside looking in, everybody's looking at this team like, oh right, they're the clouted org, right? They got obviously they got Toast behind them, but
Yeah.
over there in your side of the pond, what are they like?
It's a little bit hard for me to echo like whatever sentiment the other Singaporean fans might have. I'm not entirely sure what that might be, but definitely a lot of support. Yes, they are at that clouded org. Yes, Disguised Toast and stuff, but the players actually they've been around for quite a while. Like guys like Farah, he's been with like some of the local players, especially around the scene, and his neon has always been something that was like someone that you want to watch, especially when Fracture was still in the map pool. he was one of those guys that would just sprint all the way up into like I think it's like A site up on the top of the
Yeah.
tunnels and stuff. And there's like so much that he does that's so quick. And if you're new to it, you won't be able to respond. But the thing is, the team was kind of like put together, in a I guess unexpected way. I guess I'm not entirely sure how they came about it, but it just means that they kind of don't really have the whole enough experience together yet, that the cohesion wasn't quite there. And then with like a new coach as well, so like 1 year, how much can they really do, I suppose? And
Less
you
than
can
a year.
see like less
Yep.
than a year actually, now that I think about it. But they do have a lot of talented individuals. It's just I guess they need a little bit more time to really feel each other's tendencies out, and
Yeah.
also kind of develop themselves a little bit more. I mean, this is going to be a great segue to our next part, but there were some of these moments, especially throughout Ascension, where you could tell they needed more reads, they needed more depth
Yeah.
to some of their plays, because a lot of times they're just trying to do the same thing. Sometimes it works, and they have the
Yep.
firepower to make it happen, but other times, if you're playing against a team that like can outstrat you, then
Sounds
it's
like a
just
team I know.
unlucky.
But yeah,
Well,
this
that
is
team
being-
also.
it's being echoed by, well, actually not being echoed by, but Styron, their IGL, actually tweeted out something that also says something along the same lines, which is they had too little time to prepare, and they were
Mm.
trying so hard to stick to the old meta of two duelists, right? And I feel like it's even more important that you have that chemistry and you have that ability to read your opponents faster and more on point if you're trying to stick to the old meta, because you've figured out like your the way you play is figured out already, so you kind of have to compensate for that, right? And just the fact that they don't have that much time to prepare is what's I feel blocking that path for them to make it further into Ascension top 4. And
Yeah.
obviously we can actually segue into the next point if we want, but my last point on DSG is that I don't know if they're gonna stick around, knowing the Singaporean scene so far. I just hope they keep playing because these players are talented as fuck. So we'll see about that. And they're young. Holy shit. Juicy, I can't believe Juicy is like what,
Yeah.
18, 19 still?
Yeah, he's 18, right? Because last year I think he was what, 17, right, at Ascension?
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Thailand?
that
That's
was-
why he couldn't make it to
Yeah, yeah.
Pacific. Yeah.
Well, to be fair to DSG, running the double duelist thing has kind of been part of Singapore's DNA, if I may say so myself. Like Bleed were running it a lot last year.
Oh yeah.
They actually were one of the teams that ran it the most during Ascension last year. And it worked out for them. They made it to the
It
Pacific.
did.
So,
It did.
well,
So-
DSG were probably like, we'll do that.
Yeah. I don't know if the comp is so much the issue. It's really just how they make use of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that they made it this far though, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Still pretty good. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
Dax had a nice little kind of come to circle moment with Toast on the stream as well. He was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've always been a fan. So it was nice to see. It was nice to see, especially considering the fact that it's an org that came from somebody who obviously is kind of a content creator, really, and having more of that, I think, work out will just,
Yeah.
I guess, further give more reason for that to happen again. So the more we got teams who are coming out of the woodwork and making things happen, the better. But let's move on over now to our next topic. We've talked about some teams we did not expect. We already talked a bit about some teams we already do have here in our top 4. Obviously, if you guys aren't familiar, that is Synprisa. Obviously, we got Riddle Order as well. We got Boom, and we got Full Sense. 2 from SEA, 2 from East Asia. We haven't really talked about Full Sense yet, though. And this is a team, we got predictions later, but I'm going to say it right now, they have my favorite, I think, coming into this top 4.
Which
I feel
one?
guilty saying
Full
this, but
Sense.
yeah.
Which player? Did you say they have a player?
No, like as a whole.
Oh, they're your.
As a
Oh, as
whole.
a whole, they're there. Okay,
Favorites
okay.
for
I see,
their
I see.
favorite.
yeah.
I was gonna say if you're also a John Olsen stan, then okay.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
John Olsen. He's the
Name
OG,
is
dude.
John Olsen, baby.
He was
fucking-
there from the
dude,
very beginning.
Dude, I still remember casting that Northeption Full Sense freaking multiple OT best of 5 banger again in 2021. Just one of the best matches I've ever been a part of. And I think
LCQ.
Soldan was on that team too. And I think was it? Yeah, I think Soldan for sure. I have to look back, but that was a crazy game. But ever since then, I've been a huge John Olsen fan. Like the guy's just cracked out of his mind.
Yeah, and everybody's saying he needs to be in a tier 1 team as well. I don't know if that's like something he's avoiding, trying to prove himself that hey, I can win through this, or is it just the fact that there's not that many interest so far? But after this performance, this run so far in Ascension, I think people are gonna have to look at him no matter what.
I mean, I always thought that John Olsen was one of the most cracked Jets in the entirety of SEA. And that's
Yeah.
including the people we already obviously know who are great, like Forsaken. Everybody's making the first, tier 1 scene. But John Olsen's always been a name there that has been household to anybody watching the Challenger scene, as you mentioned, from the get-go, from year number 1, even before Valorant. This guy has been a household name to the FPSC. Not just him, actually. Got PTC as well on that
Yes.
team. And he is also a huge name there in Thailand. And I think full sense, it works well. They stuck together for a long time. And if they make it work, I would be very happy to see this team make
Very
it a
happy.
franchise.
Can I just say it's not just his skills that's making him a household name? It's just his name, dude. It's so iconic.
He has a great name.
It's John Olsen. Oh yeah,
It's so fun to
sounds
say. I don't know why.
nice.
It's
Yeah,
so
I don't know
cool.
either, but it is nice to say. And I've heard people say it is because of his name that they are a fan of him. So hey, props to you for choosing a good name. Chana Nakchain. How did you get John Olsen,
Well,
dude?
let's
We have
stick
to
with
get him.
John Olsen. I think that's
We will
easy.
stick with John
Good
Olsen.
question. Yeah, how did you get John Olsen?
I know
I think
the
he should just
Aussies.
legally change his name to John Olsen. Like, just
He should.
go with it.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
the
the one
Aussies
thing
are
one
really
thing I know
happy
about
to see him.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
thing I know about Thighs is that they all have nicknames, and I guess
Yeah.
this could be his nickname, right? Some of my friends that I know in Thailand, they're called Ice, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool, dude. Like, what the hell? You can do
Huge
that in
John
Thailand? I
Olsen.
want to do that here in Indo. I'm stuck with Andy. It's so basic. Anyway.
At the very least, they get cool ones, right? You get a moniker like,
Yes,
I don't know, custodian.
I can choose that. Yes.
Why not? Let's
But
not
yeah,
forget
full
about
set.
this team also. They've got other big names that we've actually seen in Tier 1 competition in the past. Foxes, as well as Sushi Boys, two
Yeah.
boys who have come from Talon Esports. So they got Tier 1 experience as well to back up the absolute crack players that they do have. So I think full sense as a whole, some of us have been watching them for quite a while, and they're a team that kind of like Boom Esports are in a similar spot where the
Yeah.
org has been there from day one. They have not given up. They've been continually supporting this team. Yes, maybe arguably Boom have kind of swapped players in and out. There's lots of players from there who made it eventually to the Tier 1 scene. And for full sense, it's kind of pulling players from the Tier 1 scene back into them to accompany their core. But ultimately, I think these two teams from SEA are ones that, as a Southeast Asian myself, I'm proud to have represent us.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because it's like, of course, in Pacific we have Talon last year. But then this year it's a little bit different for Talon this time with like, Governor and Ban coming in. So for the Thai, community or Thai scene, it's just nice to have like a full Thai squad coming back to like play for the whole country in that way. I know like there are definitely some Thai fans who are like cheering for Full Sense just because of that. And at the same time, like it's interesting to follow their journey or story as to how they're developing as players. Fox and Sushi Boys, that is, because last year, I don't know what was going on with Talon. It's kind of interesting. They were trying some things out. They had Paperthin in the roster, right? Like if you remember Paperthin, and he was like pulling out the gecko for the first time and trying out some interesting things. The
Was
harbor
it
as
4
well.
or 5 duelists they tried to pull off? 4 duelists.
They did like 3 duels.
Three
Three
duelists,
duelists.
3 on split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 duelists.
Split.
I still have the picture of Achilios after that match, and just him so
like,
dejected from having to watch that
What is
game.
going on? It's very like we don't know what's going on there, but something at some point. And then you have this whole switch up. Fox and Sushi Boys now in Full Sense, and they're doing a lot better. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the chemistry between the players now, but it's awesome. And like clearly they're flourishing here.
I think so for me, this is the team I picked to win. Spoilers, this event. And I think a lot of the reasons come down to just their experience. Like overall, the most experienced team. They still have cracked as hell players. I think PTC is probably the best IGL at this event. The way that he makes counter moves, like when I watch them play, I'll see them lose a round and I'll think, oh, they need to do XYZ differently. And PTC's like already there. Like he's already doing things like that, the changing round around, making great adjustments, putting his players in good positions to succeed. I mean, they can play aggressive, they can play safe, they can do a lot of things really, really well. You know, you've got Fox, who's like one of the best rated players at the event so far. He's been absolutely insane. Sushi Boys, just always clutch. Leviathan, I think he's like 50% on his clutches. He's like 6 and 12 or something in this event right now, just going absolutely ham. So like, I think overall, I think this is the team that I think will win this event. Them or SPG, but just the experience alone, I think, is getting them over the line. I mean, PTC being around in esports for so long, you know, being an IGL, not just in Valorant, but in CS as well. So like, this guy has so much knowledge underneath his belt. I think that might get them over the line.
It feels like a good mixture of like old experience within John Olsen and PTC being around in the scene for so long, and then sort of a sleeper agent mission from Foxes and Sushi Boys. Just hey, you know what? Go find out what's happening over there in Pacific, and then once you're
Bring
you've
us
soaked
back
up
the
enough
juice.
experience, just get back to us, and then let's cook. And that's what's like feeling like it's happening right now, and they're
Ooh.
cooking good, they're cooking delicious right now.
Definitely are, especially their opening matchup being, you know, SPG coming
Yeah.
in these next few days. And it's
Ooh.
interesting that you talked about the, I think, IGLing of PTC, because I was actually going to infer that to me, PTC is the second best IGL. I still do think, I'm not sure. Who's the IGL of SPG right now? Simpriza.
Francis, I think.
Francis.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's the best guy when it comes to making that shot calling happen, because he definitely does embody. I remember interviewing one of the coaches for, you know, both Gen G and T1, and they were both agreeing that one of the best things about Korean teams as a whole, even in the T2 scene, is the mid rounding. I think compared to other local scenes, they have a better baseline for mid rounding, and you see that really be effective. I think with all of the games that we've seen from SPG, it's part of the reason why I think they didn't let the Revenant opening start of 7-0 on Bind on that first map get away from them, was because they knew how to reset, they knew how to mid round themselves back into the game, and that's where I think Simpriza could maybe edge things out. I'm surprised here, Paperthin, that you're picking Full Sense, even though you're spoiling your prediction, but you're picking Full Sense to win this thing.
I know it is. It was really hard. I really like SPG. I think they have a really good shot to win this event for a whole lot of reasons. Cracked players, good bid rounding, just a really good structure. Like one thing about the Korean teams and the Korea region in general is they do have pretty good coaches and stuff, and they bring a lot of interesting ideas. Like SPG is really good at a whole bunch of different things, and that's why they're really looking dominant this tournament. Whether it be just great post plants, they have probably the best post plants in the tournament. It just seems like once they get that spike down, it's basically over. They're just winning those rounds, but also they come up with some unique ideas. And I did real quick, Jwandi, if you could pull up the clip from their ascent. Like they had this crazy comp, right? They come in with the Harbor Brimstone, you know, double duelist, double controller. But the way that they got aggressive with it on the defender side, like a lot of people were talking about this, but I want to show you like what it does, like the way that they're willing to use their ultimates here to push space. And they were doing these 4-1 splits all over the map. Like when I went back and watched the VODs, and they were really catching Riddle Order off guard. Like Riddle basically had to gamble on one side of the map or the other, and they were trying to contest. And you could see they dump a couple ults, they dump the Reckoning, they dump the Nightfall to take that space, and Riddle's just left completely bamboozled. You know, great combos, great set plays, something Korea's been known about for a really long time. So again, it comes back to that coaching that you have to back them up, the systems in place, but being able to come up with creative ideas like this too. I think the Cop's really, really good on the defender side, not just for aggressively taking space, but you have a lot of potential on retakes with the Reckoning and the Orbital Strike and things like that. The Nightfall as well. There was some really cool stuff that Margaret was doing with the Yoru to kind of throw opponents off balance with his utility. So all in all, I really, really like this SPG team. I think I think they're probably percentage wise, like if you were going by like raw percentages, they would be the ones that are winning this event. I just have like this feeling that Full Sense is just gonna have a little bit more depth in the tank, just a little bit of that experience underneath their belts. But they have a lot of the similar DNA, I feel like, in some ways, in terms of like their individual quality that Gen G has, where they're really good with sheriffs, they're really good with one-tap weapons like Guardians, so that, you know, they can kind of pick those kind of ideas out, but they're really, really good at some other things too, like coming up with their own unique creative stuff as well. So really, really impressed with this team.
My only
It's
side
actually
note is that I'm happy. I like the fact that his name is just Francis. Like, hi, I'm
Francis.
Francis. Just straight up. You know, it's like making your
I
IGN
love it.
James. I'm just, hi, I'm James. It works.
No, but I agree with a lot of what Paperthin said, and I think it's a mixture of having that foundation of being a structured region overall in Korea, but SPG have shown us a glimpse of what it can look like if you're also having a little bit of fun, right? With all this like wonky comps that actually is proven to be okay, with the individual skills that obviously is being shown here on the stream as well. With that, there's this one sheriff clip at a B main that I honestly think was one of the the most insane sheriff clips in a tier 1 play ever. Well, I guess technically Ascension is considered tier 2, but whatever. But yeah, Francis himself actually pulled out the gun and just said, "Y'all are going down." And if you have this level of play with the level of preparation with the coaches and the team that you have, as you know, in general as a Korean team, and you also have time to have fun to cook up comms like that on a set, this feels like a team that is just here to have fun. And obviously we've talked about this before in teams like PaperX, or teams like say some of the NA teams like Sentinels nowadays, where you're just there to have fun, you're just here to vibe, but is being backed up by the structure and the preparation. That is one of the most scary things that you can face in a team. And so yeah, now I kind of have to admit that SPG is the favorite, even though at the start I was like kind of doubting them a little bit, because we've always had an experience with favorite teams, like last year, for example, right? With what was the Korean team last year? Um,
D plus.
D plus,
Oh,
yeah,
D
D plus,
plus,
yeah,
yeah.
right. They were the favorites, but then they tanked, and now it's just kind of that same vibes. But hey, they have proven us wrong. I'm humbled by SPG, and I'm actually happy to see that they're here to bring some fun stuff, and I'm glad to see them again. Excited for their match against Full Send. That's gonna be one hell of a banger.
Well, it's good that you're gonna embody that humblement, if that's a word. I can create stuff. Why not?
Yes.
Because the only Indonesian team here almost got humbled in a very, very, very embarrassing way. If it did go the other way, luckily they were able to win it in the end. Well, let's talk about it here, Sleepy, for a second. Everybody else, I mean, 10-2 in the second half when they should have cleanly swept that map. I
You
don't
know
know,
what?
man.
Okay, I was so tilted by this throw that I pulled out my coaching hat again, and I actually analyzed the whole second half, and it came down to one thing, right? Johnny, if you could pull up the VOD and just play it at 2x speed or something within that second half on Bind, it came down to one thing: they did not know how to deal with the Yoru rotation. So every time Boom is trying to get into a site, right, you will always see that the Yoru TP is prepared either on A or B, and the Yoru himself is playing on the other side, right? So at any given point of time, when Boom is trying to get into a side, they will always either be late in their rotation because Yoru is always there first with a TP, or he's already there in the first place, or he's gonna be there to face at least 3 or 4 people, right? So if they decide to go into the side, they're fucked. If they decide to rotate, they're fucked. So that's what happens. And they did not find a way to deal with this until the later half of that second half. And even then, they still struggled, right? And the only reason they win, I think, is because they just found a way to force fights and finally get the trades in and find. But I'm just happy they're still there, dude.
You can see
Like, this
Ewok
is
in that screenshot scratching his head. Like,
yeah.
what's happening?
I know. That's all of us. That's all of Indonesians. Actually, no, not true. A lot of Indonesians just love to hate in general sometimes. And so some people would have been celebrating, but hey, the true fans, the actual Valorant fans, they would love to see Boom, and we get that. So I'm just thankful they're still here, dude, because I just hate to know, like, wouldn't it be insanely unfortunate if Boom Esports cannot get to play at the arena here in
Ooh.
Jakarta.
Yeah.
I wouldn't love to have that event in history. So thankfully, we dodged a bullet, literally.
Well, luckily everything works out in the end. I think that's all
Yeah.
we can be happy for.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
does.
interesting you talked about
Well,
that Yoru
yeah.
being a thing here because we've actually seen just as a whole, I think unconventional duelists rise up. Here's a stat for you all. Neon is actually tied with Raze as the most played duelist in this tournament right now. And it's part of the reason why I would argue the teams that have great Neon players, one being
Yes.
Full Sense and John Olsen, and well, to be fair, if you look at Simprisa, they got two, right? They got Dambi
Yep.
and they got Soldam, so that's more than the other. I think those are the teams that could potentially shake things up here, having those unconventional duelists. You talked about that Yoru being another, pick here that was kind of
Yeah.
shaking up Boom. Just having these unconventional, very aggressive agents with great players behind them. I think it's been a bane for almost every single team in this tournament. It's part of the reasons why the teams that do employ it are at the top. That being, in my opinion, Full Sense and Simprisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's a little bit. Do we want to call Neon still like unconventional now with this patch? You know what I mean? Because like she's been buffed and she's actually really, really strong. I think that's part of the reason why EDG was that good as well, because Kang was playing Neon at some points. And it's also part of the reason why Boom had that, well, choke. I mean,
Yes.
maybe they choked a little bit, but also DSG was doing pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not so much the Neon per se, because that's the map where they struggled.
Well, I
on
guess
Lotus.
the Neon was also showcased by Simprisa against Boom, and we got
Yeah, that was another thing.
Yep.
We got
Dambi.
destroyed on Lotus by
Dambi
Dambi.
was
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He was just there 5 seconds into the round, like on site. So
Like some crazy teleporter plays on bind, threw it and he just jumps out like relay bolt on the ground instantly. And you're just stunned. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how do I play now? I just got Valoranted.
Yeah, I mean, I think Neon in general right now is in the hands of crack duelists is really, really powerful. And it's like, especially the sliding mechanic. I mean, I think at the tier 1 level, I've heard a lot of mixed feelings about Neon from some coaches because there aren't 2 relay bolts anymore. And so a lot of them feel like for like the set ideas that they want to run, like not having that extra relay bolt really, really hurts for some of their executes and things like that and retakes. But at this level, like just having players like Donby who are just out there playing arena shooter, like just sliding all over the place is taking you down. Like it's hard to deal with when they're that accurate too.
It makes me wonder what pro teams would actually prefer. Would they rather give up the double slide or the double stun in that case?
Ooh.
honestly, I think double slides are OP.
Double slide. Yeah,
Double
yeah.
slide are OP, man.
You'd rather
Like,
keep the double slide or give it up?
keep double slide.
Keep
Keep
double
double
slide.
slide.
Personally, I would. And I would imagine the pro teams would as well because the amount of plays that you can do with the double slide is insane now. Like you can do entries that you couldn't have done before now that you have double slides, and it just makes it easier for you as a Neon player to just fuck it and say and take a risk basically, right? And be able to open up a side more easily. I think that's so much value. Like a stun is a stun, it's great, and the relay bolt is one of the stronger stuns I feel in the game. But ultimately, if you have your support with you, then why not just use their stun and then you just slide into kill, right?
Yeah, that's
So
why
I think
everybody's running breach with it, right? Like it's
yeah,
just
exactly.
Yep.
Support. So yeah, maybe we're seeing a shift in the meta a bit now, where okay, you just go Neon and then you have 2 initiators, one for information and one for setting up, and it works out pretty well.
I'm just happy we got the Filipino character going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, buddy.
Hey, I'll give you guys a small anecdote. I was doing like a
Okay.
mall event this past weekend, and people were like, doing Valorant things. And I was like, "Hey, y'all, you see this character? She's Filipino in
Oh.
this game." And people were like, "Wow, they didn't even know." So I like to see it.
For a
When-
second, when you said you were doing a mall event, I had this picture of you wearing a Santa outfit and like going out there.
Basically,
I don't
yeah.
know why. Okay,
That'd be-
okay.
that'd
I'm
be
glad
fun.
it wasn't that. All right. I mean, it would be fun. Yeah,
It would
be
be
fun to
fun.
mess around.
Yeah, I would
bet.
love an Indonesian agent, dude. Would you like a Singaporean agent, Quack?
Yeah.
What would
Well,
they
I mean,
say?
Who'd say
I
no?
don't know, dude. The accents and some like other foreign characters in the past.
No offense, but a Singlish accent would not sit well with a
It
lot
would
of
throw me
people.
off, honestly.
If you ask him to do
Um,
something, the character replies, "Can."
Can lah. Okay. Hey, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay,
Why not
okay.
make it happen? I mean, they made, I think, different characters who we maybe not have expected to come from where they came, even in the first
Yeah.
place. Like, I think, for one, Harbor coming out was like a big surprise, like a positive
It
thing
was a
for
good
a
one,
lot of
yeah.
people, especially from South Asia. The fact that you had, a character from that region was huge. So, if you guys feel like you have not been represented via an agent just yet, just you wait.
Riot
Maybe-
Games.
maybe it's
I'm
gonna happen.
Riot
offended
Games.
that we
Let
don't
'em
have an
know.
Indonesian agent yet. Please.
What's it gonna be called?
Honestly, I don't know, dude. There's a lot of different cultures here. Like, if you try to name it and represent one of the regions, the others are just gonna get offended. So I understand, Riot. It's hard. So yeah, take your time.
Probably gonna come out with like what, a TehBotol spray as well once they do that player card. Just a bottle of the soda.
Wouldn't that be sick? Wouldn't that be sick?
That would be pretty cool, actually.
That would be pretty
And then
cool.
XFFero, after all this time, he's like, "I knew it.
I knew it.
I should have stayed." But
Okay.
well, here's where we're gonna have to stay on our ground and stay on solid ground
Yeah.
on where we actually think this tournament is gonna go. Yes, the tournament is arguably, I think, the shortest out of all the Ascensions, right? From all the other regions. But ultimately enough, we found our four, and that's the important thing. SPG, Riddle Order, Full Sense, and Boom. Those are the choices, boys. We're going to do our predictions now. Quack, because you are there, I want you to start this whole thing. We know what Paperthin is, so we're going to do him last, but how about you, Quack? What do you think? How do you think this is going?
When I started this, I wanted to go with the whole like boom story. That's the story that I
Before the
had
tournament?
before the tournament started because it's just like they are pretty good. Pretty good. They are doing really well right now. I think they have like the tenacity to really adapt to rounds and such. Like I mean, that was like 2 overtimes in their match against Disguised. But at the same time, it's a home field advantage. Like, can you imagine playing in an arena with like maybe it's fully sold out, like 2,000 people, and they're all cheering for Boom, and you're their opponents. Like, how does that feel? Like, it's something that a lot of teams have talked about before, like Genji versus Sentinels. They were just like, holy crap, everyone loves Sentinels here. What are we
Yeah.
what are we doing? But then after some of these games, Sinprisa they look unstoppable. I mean, some of the set plays that they have and the way that they adapt to rounds, like it's impressive stuff. Whether or not it's the coaching stuff, I mean, I really want to hear more from the whole roster, the whole team, because I'm curious as to how the dynamic works and like what value the coaches really provide, like how much really is the coaching or the mid rounding coming up from like Francis or whatever. But the strats, the comps they run, the way that sometimes they are forced to go like overtime, but they're able to edge out that win. Like they look really, really good. I think Sinprisa versus Full Sense, until there's a team that's like maybe going to be able to take down their bind, I'm still going to say Sinprisa all the way.
I fact checked real quick if that's the actual answer you put as well on like the official
Yeah,
poster.
I put Boom at
For the
first.
town poster. I was like, is this man lying to us right now? But no, you did pick Boom at the start, so
All right.
you could still be right. Who knows?
I
Who
respect
knows?
that. Okay.
They're actually the highest most prediction like team on the actual talent roster right now. You, Ewok, and Pilsky, 3 of you.
For Boom,
picked
yeah.
Boom. We'll see
I
if
think
that
it's like
changes.
bias though.
Well, do I even have to ask? Sleepy, are you going to go with Boom?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say I think they have what it takes, right? And obviously, like Quack mentioned, the home ground advantage is not something to be looked over. And on top of 2,000 people sitting and cheering for Boom, Boom put out a tweet earlier, trying to invite the audience to memorize chants, and they've got like what 12 chants now. that the
Oh.
audience can kind of
Oh,
use to hype up Boom Esports. And I think the culture with Indonesian crowds is that they will be bringing up drum snares, where
Oh my
they'll make a
God.
lot of noise, they'll chant their hearts out and stuff like
Have
that.
fun, Quack.
Look at that. If you have
I'm
fun,
gonna
Quack.
hear that
Like
through the headset.
look at the document being shown right now. It's all the lyrics and the chants
Boom,
for
boom,
for
boom.
yeah, boom.
Dude,
It's one of them. It's got to be one of them, right? Listen, if you're, I don't know, whoever, right? SPG or Full Sense or I
Riddle
guess
Order are
Riddle
screwed.
Order, you're playing your hearts out in a 1v2 clutch, or you're in a 3v1, but then you hear boom, 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 boom in the crowd. You're like, what the fuck is this? And then you just get destroyed. So I feel like it's very underrated still. The factor of being in a home crowd. And Boom Esports, just for a fun fact for you guys, have never lost an Indonesian LAN. And this is technically an Indonesian LAN. It's being held here in Jakarta. Um, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm coping a little bit, but I do believe they have what it takes. Let's just put it like that. And we haven't really talked about Riddle Order, but I believe Riddle Order is also one of the wild cards in this event. I just love their branding. To be honest, they're goated.
The face.
That
Smiley
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 face,
face.
their whole website, their whole profile, like it's so nice. Look at that, it's so retro and it's so nice looking. And they do have some good players. I was in a TDM game one morning when they were supposed to play that day, and I played Yatsuka, and he
Ah.
destroyed me. And so I was like, "Fuck yeah, they're good." But it's fine. I think Boom should not have that big of a problem against Riddle, I believe. And so I would go with Boom still, even though I think Full Sense and Sinprisa are fundamentally stronger.
All right. We got one Sinpresa here from Quack. We got a Boom Esports. I actually want to, before I go to you, Paper, I want to
Yeah,
ask
go
the
ahead.
man in the chair, the legend himself,
Oh
Jwandi.
yes.
What do you
Yes.
think? Who you got?
Yo, to be honest, I wasn't prepared for this. Let me take a quick look at it.
Well, that's the job,
bad.
buddy.
If there's only 4 of them, you gotta pick one.
To be honest, I wasn't paying much attention to SPG during the regular season, during Challengers Korea, but literally everyone that I know was saying that this team could be winning Ascension based on their scrim results, smashing teams in scrims and Challengers Korea. But Full Sense could be doing great as well, and I hope they do because they have like what it takes, and the storyline of Fox and Sushi Boys finding their way back to Pacific would be cool as well, including Soldam from Rito. But objectively speaking, I have still to go with Sinprisa.
Wow, not Boom. Okay.
Well,
Okay,
got-
Johnny.
We got
Okay.
2 for Sinpresa, 1 for Boom. You're sticking with Boom, right, Sleepy?
Yes, I am.
All right, he's sticking with Boom. Paper, are you sticking
Yeah.
with? You sticking with it?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Full Sense. I do want to give Riddle Order some flowers. I think they're gonna beat Boom. Sorry, Indonesian fans. I think like the way that Riddle Order mostly plays is really good. Like especially Yatsuka and Ace.
boy.
Like the way they play off of their teammates is like some of the best I've seen in this tournament. Their ability to trade, their ability to find their timings and things like that is really, really good. I think, as always, Soldom's a bit of a wild card. You never know what you're going to get out of him day to day. You never know just if he's going to go running off into Narnia by himself trying to 1v5 a team, and it just does not go good. But I think behind him, there's a lot of really, really good players who are making some really good decisions, who are really playing to their best of ability. And I think at the very least, even if Riddle Order doesn't win this, which I don't think they will, but I think a couple of those players are going to be very highly desired by some of the tier 1 Japanese orgs. I hope. So I really want to give them a lot of credit. Also Yatsuka, like there's 3 players who are destroying in clutches in this event, and Yatsuka's one of them. He's like 11 and 26 or something like that. Absolutely disgusting what he's doing on that KJ in particular. So just really, I think Riddle's pretty good right now. I just don't think they're good enough to beat SPG or Full Sense. But yeah, sticking with Full Sense, they're good. there's like guys who played at Champions on that team. Like they know what it's about. I think they're going to be able to kind of keep it together and come through with the big dub. That's where I'm going.
Well, respectable answer. I think it's going to sound like a cop out, but I have to echo really the same sentiments you mentioned. I think my head answer, right? If I'm going to be smart about this, I'm probably going to put my money, if I was a betting man, on Simpriza. They seem like the team that has everything well put together. They seem like the safest option right now. Every single player on that team, none of them is a liability. You talked about the clutch potential as well, and we've seen that has brought teams far. Sometimes it's about making a big time play, and hell, Simpriza, they got 3 players that can do that at any given moment, right? And not to mention the other 2. But I still do think that there's something special about Full Sense. I still do think that the storyline that they could deliver here is going to be special. But not just that, I do think there's something special about John Olsen. I think this guy it's not always about, right, who is leading the team. Even Michael Jordan needed the rest of the Chicago Bulls to make it. But sometimes having that leader at the forefront really does make things a lot, I guess, easier to cope with. He takes the brunt of the pressure. He takes everything so much better, I think, than many other duelists or other players do in his position. And you never really see the confidence go away from him. Even if they're losing rounds, even if what he does doesn't work, he's going to try and do it again. But maybe this time it won't work. Maybe the next time it will. It doesn't matter because he's Johnny Bloody Olsen. He's got the first and last name. He doesn't care what you think. And because of that, I think Full Sense, yeah, I'm sticking with it. Simpriza, that's where my head is, but my heart and my body sells Full Sense. So I'm going to echo those same ones.
John's the best opper at the event, I think, as well.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, he got that 4K with Neon, the collateral, right, with the op and stuff, too. Just crazy
His
stuff.
opping on Haven is ridiculous. He's so good.
I have to agree. I mean, you look at maybe duelists on other teams, and Simpriza, they got 2. They got 2 great ones. But sometimes maybe you just need one really, really solid as fuck one to make everything happen. And John Olsen, I think there's a lot behind him that might bring, I think, Full Sense to the finish line. Not just him, obviously. You talked about Fox and Sushi Boys. Great experienced players that you would love to have. And sometimes you see the most winningest formula of any other team or most teams is having veterans supporting newer kids. And that's exactly how Full Sense are built. Simpriza doesn't have that. No real team has that. Maybe to an extent, you look at Boom. Some of those players have been playing for a while, yes, but
mostly
none of them
veterans, to be
have.
honest,
None of them really have like the franchise experience of veteranship that Foxes and Sushi Boys bring to the table.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't know
Fox
why I
fuck,
picked
man.
Boom, to be honest. I agree with y'all. But, but yeah,
I mean,
I just
if I was in your position, I'd pick Boom too.
yeah,
I'd
dude.
go full
I gotta
bias.
go
Fuck
for
it.
I mean,
Fuck it.
no lie. If Nas was here, I'd be saying everything the opposite way. Everything I said.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for making me feel better, guys. I'm not stupid, all right? I know who's favored, but I gotta pick Boom just for being Boom. All right.
All right. Well, we talked about which teams could actually make it to the franchise, but let's say they don't. Let's say they fail. Let's say your favorite team shits the bed, so they don't make it to Pacific. Which player, though, you guys think could actually be picked up out of here? Because there are players like that. And speaking of, we can look at K1stal, for example. He won Ascension China, and they're like, all right, we'll take you. We're going to take you.
We'll get to that.
Another team, right?
Oh,
We'll
no.
get to that later.
We'll get to that.
Thoughts.
We'll get to that later.
All right.
But for Ascension, give me at least one franchise-ready player. We talked about Papi Chulo a while ago, but someone else, other guys. Come on, let's look around here, look through the table, look through who is currently playing, who is doing well. Quack, because I know you've done the most homework out of everybody. I'm gonna start with you.
I've been casting, so that's my homework.
Homework.
It is homework.
One
in a way.
out of everything, huh? Wow, that's actually my mind's pointing towards Riddle Order. I mean, like, just right off the top of my head, it would be someone like Yatsuka, I think. Because just the pieces are already there. The whole team and like the coach, they were already like Zeta Division Academy kind of like setup, right? So it's easy for him to just transition over to Zeta or something like that. And Zeta is a team that, let's be honest, kind of needs a lot of support right now.
I think Japan
and they got rid of Hirodon, so they got
that's the thing, you know. But you watch these performances, and yeah, this guy's someone who's consistently able to perform, like the clutches. When he's pressured and stuff. I think he definitely feels nerves a little bit, but he's still able to kind of like come out in those player that Zeta needs. Because God, like the Zeta that we saw this year, they got shook. They got shook, and they really couldn't really come back. So maybe someone like Yatska, if they picked him up, that would be huge.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah.
I would go with Shiro from Boom. He, I think, has been consistently performing well. And it's actually pretty rare to find an Indonesian player that can consistently stay at the top like him. And he has shown some pretty good moments as well here at Ascension Pacific. So, I mean, obviously it's a bit biased still because I'm very attuned to the Indonesian scene. I've
Wait.
seen Boom play for quite some time now. We need to see some of them at the top. And if I have to pick one, it would be Shiro from Boom Esports.
He's IGL, right?
Dude.
He is IGL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And he's still shooting hits.
Wait.
He's
So
still fragging out of his mind.
Hear
Yeah.
me out,
exactly.
hear me out.
So that's
Shiro-
a quality you don't see a lot in anyone.
Shiro in 2022, sorry, he used to be on Onyx.
Yes,
And
correct.
Ewok is coaching RQ now.
Correct.
Monyet used to be on
In
Onyx.
Onyx, yes, they were teammates. Are
So
you
if
thinking what I'm
Ewok
thinking?
just I want Shiro now. It's just gonna
and
rebuild
he has that
Onyx
power.
under RQ.
He has that power, dude. He can rebuild
Yeah,
Onyx.
man. Actually,
V2.
would the vibes on that team would be
It was
next level.
insanely good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hey, who knows? So Ewok, if you're watching this, you know what to do. Or you can just talk to him tomorrow.
He's
Yeah,
literally
dude.
gonna be there.
I'm just
Yes.
thinking about it.
Yes. So yeah.
So
Shiro
we got
for me.
Shiro, we got
Yatsuka.
Yatsuka. How about for you, Paper?
All right. I had a couple names on the list. One of them's already picked. I guess
My
I'll
bad.
go full boomer mode and go for Persia, since I've known him for the longest and he's been around for the longest, and he's finally playing really, really well. I mean, he's always been kind of good, like back when he was on TehBotol and Maru, and he was kind of the best player on Maru, I guess, but Bane was also on that team, and now he's on DRX playing pretty well. But I think you're really seeing how good Persia really is, and he is one of the best controllers in Korea. The other one being Sylvan, that's still available. I'm just saying, teams, Sylvan's still available. Somebody pick this guy up. Anyway, I think Persia's probably the one that I think has the most like ability to translate quickly to tier 1. So I think one of the Korean orgs, whether it be T1 or if DRX for whatever reason needs another controller, because I don't know, something happens with Mako, please no. But I really think he's just got the best clutch percent abilities. He has those crazy 1vx's. He's got really good game sense. He knows how and when to use his smokes really well. He's basically everything you could want out of a controller in the current meta. So I'll go with Persia, but there's a lot of other players out there that I'm really hoping make it up there, like Sultan and Grumble and some others. So yeah, we'll go with Persia, I guess.
I'm surprised you're not saying Soldown.
Dude, Soldom, man, oh my god,
We've
he's
seen
so
him.
good, but he's so wild. He's just I love the guy to death. I love the guy to death, but he's just out there wilding all the time, and it gets frustrating watching him because I know how good he can be if he would just reel it back a little bit sometimes, but it's like he can't help himself. It's like he has to hold W and push top mid on Ascent every round, and there's just no other options in his brain. And he's a really nice kid, by the way. Like, I've talked to him a lot back when he was on DFM last year, and he's very talented individually, yes, but I don't think many teams need him as a duelist, if I'm being perfectly honest.
All right. I think
We saw him
very
on DFM.
reasonable answers. What, Quack?
But we saw Sodom on DFM before.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the team was also kind of,
Yeah.
So we don't know whose fault it was really.
And now we have better Soldom in May.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, we're good.
May. Correct.
Well,
Okay.
I think for my answer, I already touched upon Papi Chulo, so I'm gonna go with somebody else. Really, I think my answer would be who I want to make it there. It would have been Papi Chulo, right? But who I think could actually or has a high chance of doing it. So I'm gonna go with actually a similar kind of thought process here of Quack a while ago, where I'm looking at the Japanese teams, both of them, and they both really need some tuning up. They're both probably gonna want to look at their tier 2 scene, and so I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, not gonna lie. It's Kaide. They're
Kaide.
Kaide. Kaide,
It's kind
really?
of like kind of
Yeah,
like
the
that.
casters
So
have been saying
that's what
Kaide, and I was so confused
it
watching
be?
at the start. Like,
Not
why?
like-
Why are they saying Kaide, man?
it's like
And
if I were to go full weeb Japanophile mode. It's
please
like,
do.
Did you see it in katakana? Is that how you know? Like,
Kaide.
did you?
No.
How do you actually pronounce it? Like the real pronunciation? Do you know?
It's kind of like Kaide.
Kaide.
Like
I think it's
it's
Kaide.
Tens and Kaide. Kaide.
Yeah.
She's done like a video about how to actually pronounce her name, and that's the same thing.
Oh, interesting.
I'd have to see the katakana to know for sure.
I see. It feels like the name Kaide. I've seen a few different spellings that are all pronounced the same exact way. Like even in the game Ghost of Tsushima, there's a character there spelt differently, pronounced the exact same. So yeah, I think he is a player that will really provide a lot, being that initiator. Maybe, the thing is with initiators, a lot of times they're also one of the more flexible players, I think, in a team. Obviously duelists, people look at duelists, they can go sentinel, but I think really there's a lot to be said for the amount of initiators you expect one initiator player to play. And so that varies to different ones. You can have active scanning ones like Sova and Fade. You can have a bit more initiating and executing ones like Breach and Gecko. And having him have all these different roles, also playing the KO, I think that's something that the Japanese teams right now in the tier 1 scene desperately need, both Zeta and DFM. So if there's one player who I think could have a real good chance of making it, this probably has to be Kaide.
And he played on Zeta at Red Bull Homegrounds in Tokyo last year. So
That helps.
Yep. I think you are onto something. I think you're cooking.
We're all cooking here. So
Cooking.
what's our tally? It's Kaide, Shiro. You mentioned
Yatsuka and
Yatsuka.
Persia.
Persia.
So
Yatsuka.
if any one of us are right coming in the next year, this is your moment to say, that will be your moment to say, I told you so. Keep this in check. Especially that RRQ on coming from Sleepy. That feels like a direct wink. Like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a bit tough, right?
Inspired info,
Because
don't you?
we know I guess there's an unwritten like quotas in the VCT Pacific teams. Like if you're to promote someone like Shiro, for example, the only real chance that it would get into a team is teams like RQ, or maybe slightly likely is like something like Paperthin, right? Because we have Indonesian players as well.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a bit hard. I wanted to say names like John Olsen and PTC, but there's only really one option for them, which is Talon. And Talon, I guess, is an okay spot. I don't know what's really going on there, what they're trying to cook up, which could be interesting when the transfer window starts. But that could be where they want to go, and I think they deserve a shout out as well. But yeah, I'm hoping we can see something happen with Shiro, with RQ. That could be very interesting.
Well, as you mentioned, we definitely have a lot to look forward to, that being a lot more topics. So let's get on moving here,
Let's
as we have
go.
already about to reach, the hour and a half mark, I think, at
Let's
this point.
go.
Who would have thought we could yap so much, as the name would suggest? You guys know what else you do with your mouth aside from yapping? You eat. And
Yes.
Because of that.
Hey.
Because of that.
Well, that could have gone in some weird directions. Okay, we're good. Did it.
Wait, we are promising to keep this PG. All right.
Yeah, PG. Yeah.
PG.
Right,
PG-13. There's some swears. There's some swears.
13. A
We
few.
can
of them.
swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, They do that. They do that. The kids these days know a lot more, I'm sure. But
For sure.
we're gonna move on over to the eaten part, as it's as important as the yapping part.
Yeah.
YAP2ASIA,
Yes,
written up
sir.
and directed and produced and established 2024 by the man himself, Juandi. what's it about? Jondi, you tell us. We want to hear it from you.
Yeah, dude.
What's the
Jondi.
eats and why?
Yeah, all right. It's kind of a random thing that we had this idea like at the start of the month. Just came out of nowhere in a dinner. Andy was there. Like we talk about what to do like during Ascension, like what to do, really what to do besides like the normal carbohydrates, and then like because we were eating like Indomie, and then like like yeah, let's do something about because probably like some of people in Southeast Asia will come over to Jakarta, and yeah, we just came up with this idea of turning like YAP2ASIA into a food blog. So it was not only me. Everybody and the team chime in. Andy as well. Even some players from Paperthin as well. Like they chime in on giving some of the recommendations. So, and this is a solid list. Like trust me. I've asked like five
Trust me.
people that trust me. I've asked like five people that lives in the Kelapa Gading area, which Ascension is gonna be held, and they all say um, around the same list, like yeah. So you can see on the screen, but yeah,
Yep. Repeated names.
yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm getting hungry now just looking at
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, no kidding.
honestly,
Why have you done this to me?
one of
I can
the
actually feel my stomach.
At this hour.
one of the considerations, if I can jump in here, Joandi, was that Indonesia is spicy
Yeah.
food territory, right? And we were kind of worried because people coming in to Indonesia, like the Korean teams or the Japanese teams, they might be surprised. They might be caught off guard by the spiciness of our food. So we thought we should probably do a guide so that they don't get bamboozled by the spiciness here.
I agree because when there was the LCQ rebroadcast,
Yeah,
like
you
2
went
years ago,
here.
2020.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
go there, but some of the other casters
Oh,
did,
right.
because we were supposed to do the Ireland one with Quack and all, but
Yeah.
they went over there to Indonesia, and one of the casters got sick, like really sick, like she had to go to the hospital sick because of the spicy food. It was that bad.
Was it,
like
who was it? Terror?
it was terror.
It was Terror. Yes,
no.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Terror.
no. Poor terror.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, right? Like we do have spicy food here, so we just wanted people to be a bit more careful. At the same time, we know the good spots, so why not you go to the spots that we picked? And yeah, this is a solid list. I personally recommend a few of the restaurants here. Some of them I haven't tried, which I should. But I can tell you for sure it's gonna be one hell of an experience if you're around the area. So might as well drop by. Quack, listen, man.
Quack.
You
I need to
gotta-
live vicariously through
Yeah.
you. Go, go, go.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
I need you to destroy
I've got
yourself on
foodies
spicy
with me,
food
you
for
know?
me.
You better make sure
Gladly, I shall
the
offer
others
up my,
are. You better make sure they're following that Macan to Asia, otherwise you're gonna have to save another life. Quack.
Wait, what? Say another.
Yeah, don't let them eat too spicy food.
Yeah, I
Especially
think
the East Asians.
Yeah, I got some white boys with me actually. I'm a little bit concerned for them.
all right.
Let's pause on
I
that. Why'd
love
you
spicy
pause?
food. I love spicy food. I would go ham. I would go.
Yes,
I
sir.
remember last
I
year.
know you would.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was just gonna say
Last year, Seth
Ascension,
would as well.
Yep.
Conky said, "This is my first time in Asia," and one of the first things I
That's-
told him,
yeah.
"Don't eat anything you see. Just don't eat anything."
He's very concerned. I'm a little bit scared for Conky and Komodo. I mean,
Okay.
they're awesome. But yeah, when it comes to food, no, actually Conky might be fine because he's got like some background in food and cooking, and he always
Oh,
posts
and he
these
cooks
pictures
a
of him
lot.
cooking stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
but Komodo's the one that I'm a little bit
Yeah.
scared for.
So anytime you go to a place and they offer you level 1 to level 5, just pick level 0. Or
Not
if
even
you're
level
feeling
0.
adventurous,
Not even level
if
one?
you're feeling adventurous, then sure, level 1 you can try, but don't ever go
Alright.
to level 2, 3, 4, and beyond.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd go at least 2.
Oh, for
Minimum.
you, my man, you would
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least need level 2. 3 is
Okay,
good.
okay.
I always
3's
go for
good. All right, 3's like
Yeah.
a good middle ground. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. 5 is a bit too like it kind of it overpowers the taste of the food itself. So I don't
Oh
like
yeah,
that. So level
and I
3
don't
is
want to
like
hallucinate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Level
you
3
get
is like you
the
get the
high.
kick, but you still get the taste of what you're actually eating. You don't forget what you're eating. So I would go with level 3.
It's an actual
Alright.
thing, they call it a spice high. Once you eat something too spicy and you feel
Right,
like
and then you try you start to
Mm.
yeah.
Wow.
Been there, done that.
sure.
Not recommended.
No, it's not fun.
No, it's not
No,
fun.
definitely not. Well, I would just like to say I hope this Makanto Asia thing, you guys do it for every single kind of Ascension or even land that happens, right? That
Do it
isn't
here, yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe other countries too, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, like
Maybe
if
that
it
could
ever
be
goes
fun.
back
Masters,
to Thailand
Bangkok.
for Masters,
Right, right.
get some
John,
of
do you
the
take notes?
people from
Yeah.
Bangkok to help on
For
it. If
real.
it's in the Philippines, then you got lots to ask.
Yes, sir. Easy peasy.
Yeah, we
All
are
right.
actually planned it for Bangkok, but yeah, that's all I can
Ooh.
share.
Let's go.
Yay. Let's go. All right. So let's continue on here with a bit more. Naturally, it's not even serious business. I just wanted to give props to one of the Pacific talents who actually has been nominated for an award. So
Yes.
it's your man. You say the honors.
It's your boy.
Yes. My boy, my baby boy has been nominated for Play-by-Play Caster of the Year for the Esports Awards. Huge congratulations to him. He should have been nominated years ago, and he is definitely deserving of these flowers. Just a tremendous guy to work with, great friend. Nothing but great things to say about him. I'm lucky to work with him for the last 4 years. Truly just a treat, and vote early, vote often, and I don't think he cares too much if he wins. I think he was just really happy to get nominated. So yeah, big congratulations to my guy, Achilios. Let's go.
Let's
Woo!
go. Yeah, totally
Woo!
deserves, man.
Yep.
He's the guy that you'd be happy to carry your flag. So I think it's all in favor here, I think, and just happy for you, man. Congrats.
100%.
Well,
Although I don't know about this clip that Jawandi's got up at our screen right now of him losing his mind. I don't know if this might have disqualified him from potentially
What if
getting the
this
award.
was the reason he was qualified in the first
yeah,
place?
you never know.
Then I have problems. Then I have
Hey, I know that
concerns.
guy. I know that guy.
Yeah, I know. And here I am trying to talk him down, and he just doesn't listen. I tried to give him a tinfoil hat, but he gave it back to me because he didn't want to ruin his hair.
Oh,
Uh,
all right.
What are you guys arguing over? Not Pacific. Yeah, that's the Atlantic Ocean. Also
Yeah. So
Pacific.
he's claiming that every team left at this point, and Champions was a Pacific team.
Oh, I see.
Like
It's
an
that
absolutely
kind of
insane person. Yeah.
That's what you
He's
call
channeling his inner.
It's because he
It's
lost
always
his mind
sunny.
at the
Yeah.
DRX match.
He did. He went insane.
He's passionate.
He really
yeah,
is
he's
so
got
passionate
that.
for
It's
DRX.
I'm half convinced this is why he was not.
Exactly.
Well, his last name is King, and hopefully he finds his crown from that.
Ooh.
Let's
I like
move
that.
on towards the next point now here, as we're going to start talking about China. How do we start it?
Ooh.
Obviously, by Ascension, we have the winner. XLG were able to take it out, and I don't know. I
But
want to hear you
they
guys.
didn't beat him before.
They didn't
They
beat him
didn't beat-
before.
They lost to Rear Adam in the previous time they faced against him in the upper finals. So like, I don't know, man. Like, the fact that they just came back and 3-0'd it was pretty crazy. And it was dominant. They stomped them. Like, just absolutely. Kr1stal played out of his freaking mind. I think he was like plus 37 or something overall
my
through the
lord.
series. Like, in 3 maps, because they only played 3 maps. Like, just
Damn.
crazy good stuff from him.
Okay. I don't watch CN a lot, not gonna lie. So we'll probably need to bring in someone who's more tuned to the Chinese scene at some point. But all I can say is I don't think I've really heard people say that XLG were the favorites to win VCT CN, or at least Ascension in China. So it might have come as a surprise to some, especially as opposed to like other names like Rare Atom, who I know for sure has a lot of clout and
Yeah.
have been discussed quite a lot here and there. So very nice surprise. And hey, our boys there, Hawk, Mr. Fayde, the coach for XLG. Congratulations to him. He's been fighting for his life in China for quite some time now. Happy that he's seen the result that he wanted. And Yeah, it's very interesting to see what's happening there because I'm guessing it has things to do with the import rule that some of the players or even the coach from XLG right after winning Ascension just say, "I'm out."
You put it
I
that way. Yeah.
I am. It makes me really unhappy to see that because especially
Mm.
with Crystal, like you think about last year, right? He got second with scars
Yeah.
in Ascension Pacific. Then he comes here and wins as an IGL. Crazy good stuff. Plays Sova on Lotus really, really well.
Yeah.
Like he's got a lot of this stuff that's just amazing. I really hope he finds a team. He's really deserving. It just kind of it rubs me the wrong way with the Ascension rules that you can bring imports in like that, but you can't bring them up
Yeah.
to the big stage. It does really rub me the wrong way because I don't like that it's that way because it encourages sort of this weird sort of shuffling and poaching system that I think actually hurts players more than it helps them in the long run. With a player like Crystal, for example, like he's just like bouncing around tier 2 teams, like bringing them up and almost either getting them over the line or almost getting them over the line in a tier 1 but can't get there himself. Like that kind of I don't like that. Like if I'm just being frank,
Understand.
yeah, I'd like to see something done about that, I guess, so that players like him can, if they earn their slot, like they can continue on
Yeah.
and you know, like we had last year, right, in NA with the weird thing where the team got dropped, and then there was all kinds of controversy around that. Like shoring up these rules that when teams qualify for their tier 1 respective tier 1 league, that they have decent guarantees as long as they
Yeah.
want to play, they can.
Well, I feel like, it definitely does suck. Whatever, the circumstance is, sometimes it's just unfortunate with some of the rules that we have, or whatever reason might be behind it. But you can always count on the fact that, like, dude, this is a player that has made it to like the finals of two different Ascensions regions. Like that's a very big thing. So at some point, you have to think like the tier 1 arcs should be looking at him. Like that's a really cool thing to think about. He's really talented. He's able to fit onto like different teams and also play like these different agents. So maybe he doesn't stay with XLG, but like hopefully some tier 1 org somewhere picks him up. I could see like maybe he comes back with maybe RQ also, or like I don't know
I was gonna
actually,
Yeah.
because like him and Jimkin,
There's
like
a lot of teams that need IGLs. He's really good at it.
I was gonna
Yep.
say, you think after that win, RQ were like, damn it, we should have taken Crystal instead. You know? From last year.
Oh man. But that's a great point, Quack. Like him being able to fit into different teams and still find the same level of
and play
success is
different
actually
roles.
insane. Different roles and different languages. I
Yes.
don't know what the mode of
How they
communication is
cause
like there, but one was a Japanese team, one is a Chinese team, and he still manages to
right.
go to finals and win one of them. And that's just like unthinkable if you're a player. Like the amount of adjustments you have to make is insane. And I
Valorant,
don't think a lot of players can do that.
it's a universal language, Sleepy, right?
Okay,
What
Ooh.
I
language
mean,
do you speak?
We're gonna-
Valorant.
Wait, what?
we're in Southeast
just-
Asia. That's easy to say for us, man. We do have universal languages.
Yeah, like
That
you can tell,
is
you can
understandable.
infer.
Yes.
Bad words.
Bad-
I'm
yes.
actually surprised that that's the ruling with the whole import thing, because I remember before franchising, it wasn't the thing. Like I remember talking to a writer, and they were like, as long as it's if they have the max amount of imports and they don't go over that, the two
Yeah,
at the
that's
time
fine.
in Challenger League, it's fine. You can bring them all the way. You can win the damn Masters and Championships with it if you so please,
Right.
if it works for you. So I'm surprised it kind of is different. Maybe because
Yeah.
it is kind of a franchise league, right? Where you expect everybody in that league is from that region
From that
for the most
region.
part. But then Pacific's got imports.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
Oh.
one maximum, unfortunately, and I think XLG has two, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
They had two
That's
Russian
why.
players.
That's
Yeah.
why they had to let go
Yeah.
of one of them, and they chose to let go of Crystal. But I feel like I agree with Paperthin here. I need to see them realign their ruling for Ascension and Tier 1 so that this thing doesn't happen, right? So if you're allowed to bring two from when you're fighting for your chance at Ascension, then you should be able to bring those two to the Tier 1 league. Otherwise, you gotta make it a rule at Ascension that you can only bring one import so that this thing doesn't happen. Either way works for me, but I just feel bad for players who have fought all the way and just cannot earn what they deserve because of some words in a document, and
Well, yeah.
it's potentially life changing, right? And I just don't like to see that happen to people.
I mean, you can argue it is life changing. You know, Juicy, where would he be now? He wouldn't have had
Yeah.
to fight for DSG.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
would have been in tier 1 the past year. You know, so it would have been very different for him. And
Man.
also curious considering the fact that in the actual franchise league, some teams have more than just one import, anyways. So why not in Ascension? Is it allowed? Like, you look at some of these teams, they got definitely 2 or more. So
Is that true though?
Yeah.
Who do you have in mind?
I mean, technically, where is PaperX based?
Singapore.
One. Singapore. They
Yeah.
have SGMY, I guess, counts for one, right?
Yeah.
As one region.
Oh
But
no,
then
because in
they got 2
Pacific
Indonesian players
that doesn't count. Because in Pacific you only count imports from outside of Pacific.
outside.
So
of
if you're
Pacific.
within
Makes
Pacific,
sense.
even if you're Korean, Japanese, Southeast Asian, South
I guess
Asian,
All good in
Talon
the
has
hood.
ban and governor.
But they're both Korean.
both Korean.
Yeah.
they're going. They're using
Yeah,
technicalities
yeah,
there, so I
yeah,
guess
I see
it
where
kind of
that-
works that way.
Like maybe the passport, but
Yeah,
citizenship.
who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
knows?
But yeah, hopefully it gets sorted in the future, so we avoid this stuff. But yeah, congratulations SLG, man.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Crystal, we hope to see him in tier 1 very soon.
Please.
Third time's the charm for XLG. They lost towards Adam
Yes.
twice. Group stage once, bracket another, lower bracket, won that series, hard fought, and then, as Paperthin mentioned, a sweep at the end. So that's why I was kind of, I guess, confused how to really summarize the team because they didn't really stomp their way through the tournament. But they didn't really necessarily struggle either. They lost versus Atom, right? 0-2 at the start, but then the rest of their performances were okay. So they were doing okay. And sometimes in the end, doing the bare minimum is what you need. Up until the end, where they really, I guess, made things happen 3-0. So for XLG, things work out for Crystal. I hope it works out for him as well. He already done it twice, but he's not the only player to leave this team directly after winning, but in a very different circumstance. Their coach as well. When you look here at Fayde, I don't know if he's allowed to talk about it yet, to be honest, because of the whole move deadline thing. But he tweeted
Yeah.
out that
He tweeted out a
he
contract.
a contract. I don't know how I feel about this.
It would be all speculation. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Gotta wait
No
till the
idea.
official announcement.
Yeah, I'm
One
gonna
would-
wait.
One would wonder, or maybe disseminate from the information that this is probably a tier 1 team.
Yeah, I would think
I would
so.
assume.
I would
because
guess, yeah.
Why would
I
you
don't think he
believe-
would accept a less than tier 1 at this point after winning Ascension.
Yeah.
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 You know what?
We
Let's bring
will-
him on
Yeah.
once he announces his new home.
There you
Let's just get him on and ask him about the whole experience with XLG and his new team.
We claim him as Pinoy Pride, by the way, as he was the
Oh,
former
really?
team secret. So
How do you feel about that, Mr. Quack? He's Malaysian, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
from your region, brother.
I think did he coach like SMG at some point also? Like way back in the day.
Yes, he
Right?
did.
That
He
was
did.
like pre
Super way
an
back.
area
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 2021, I believe.
So
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's okay.
You know why?
It's like
Quack
that
is
was
too
way too long
agreeable.
ago.
No sense of ownership.
It's not that. It's not that. I mean, hear me out. Like, it's so
Okay.
long ago, and then
Okay.
like, in a way, the Singaporean scene just kind of like ditched him. And
Oh,
then
I
it's like,
see.
oh, look at this poor boy, this poor baby. Come here. And then it's like, all right, fair enough. They claim him. We'll be okay with that.
See. All right,
All right.
fine. Cool.
You know, Quack, I'm willing to share with you anytime. But
All right.
if them, all right, if you guys want him back, sure, we don't mind. But we
We-
can only speculate.
YAP2ASIA wants him. That's the important part.
That
That's
is
the important
true.
part.
That
we
is
want
true.
you. We want Uncle Sam. We want you. You know. If you
We
guys
want
aren't,
aid.
I don't think we've told them yet, but for this opening episode, we figured it'd be better for just a few of us for now, the 5 of us. But ultimately, our goal, I think, for the whole YAP2ASIA is, as much as possible, have somebody new every episode. Like,
Yeah,
let's have a
yeah,
guest,
yeah.
right? Because there's so many people in the Valorant space, especially here in Asia. who
Yep.
have not been given a voice to speak, especially players, right? Especially some of these other folks who maybe have not shared their story, and this might be
Mm-hmm.
the only chance to do so. And we want to hear from them. We want to talk to them. So we're going to try and do that. We're also obviously going to try and have our friends, other casters, talents,
Yeah.
here as well, and people from different orgs. That's the end goal, right? Have everybody that we can talk to yap at us and at you. So that's what we got going on.
Amazing.
So for China, anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, ultimately enough, you're talking
think we're
about some of
good.
the free agents here. Freeing is arguably one of the hottest FAs, as well as Crystal, obviously, right now. And then you
Mhm.
look at some of the players here who do have experience in SEA, you know, from fancy like Fisio, who
PCO.
he played in last
Fisio,
Ascension.
yeah.
Am I mistaken?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
on
Yep.
Fancy United.
Fancy United.
Fancy
Yes.
United. Thank you.
That was a much better performing Vietnamese team than the current lo-fi one we saw, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially for Vietnam, because they've always been kind of a struggling region.
They're a
I think, in
household
SEA.
name in Vietnam, right? Like Fancy United.
yeah.
They've always been present, like since 2021. And at one point, we were actually very excited about their gameplay. I remember, I think the one
it-
thing that um,
Is he?
got an impression on me was the double controller. They created that meta, especially with the Omen aggressive playstyle. You flash and then you TP in yourself, like as the entry. Like they've got some ideas, but yeah, unfortunately, fell off.
Yeah, that scene. I think one of the teams. I agree with you. That first ran that was like Cerberus, even
All right,
Vietnam, not even fancy.
not even
Like
fancy. Okay, okay.
2021 at the start. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Vietnam always maybe not. I don't know if pioneer is correct, but they definitely were one of the first foots
One
in
of
the
the
door
first ones to
and
innovate. Yeah.
thinking outside the box, right? It never really
Yep.
worked out for them. They used to even run Viper and Ascent all the time. It never worked out for them, but ultimately enough, they at least
And then
kind of
Loud stole that.
yeah, they seeded the idea right at the very start, like the very opening stage of the VCT. They
Yeah.
were already playing that shit. So we're gonna move on from China right now because none of us are experts, self-admittedly. That's why we're gonna have one next time around when more big news surrounding China happens. And we're gonna move to some stuff we've already kind of touched upon a while ago. That being the whole kind of trade transfer window, when
Yes.
players are allowed to move, when you're even allowed to make a move, talking to the players directly instead of going to their org, the whole poaching thing. What do you guys think about
Uh,
it? I see a lot of teeth right now.
Yeah,
Like,
I have
Yeah. because
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
it's always just madness. I mean, to me, it's just. I actually like last year. I was like really keyed in during the off season, like trying to like talk to teams and have an idea of what was going on. And this year, I was just kind of like, you know what? I just want to be surprised. Like I
Yeah.
just want to wake
Same.
up on the morning of the 7th and just see it's like Christmas. Just see what's on Twitter and see what's going on. I have heard some things here and there. I mean, obviously we know about some of the moves like with T1 and Zeta and GE and Bleed dropping some of their players, but I think to me some of the bigger questions are about like DFM and teams that were struggling. Even Talon before they kind of made their run to champs, I kind of had some questions about. So we'll see. I think DFM needs to make some serious changes.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest concern I have for both them and Zeta is that there aren't good Japanese IGLs out there really yet. They need time to kind of develop their system because like Jojo on Riddle, right, is Korean.
Oh yeah.
And so like who do you bring in? Like is Anthem really going to be the answer for DFM? Like you lose Laz because he retires on Zeta. Who's going to IGL that madness? So that's where my big questions lie. It's like who's going to be an IGL that you can bring in and really step up to the plate day one.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Kaide IGLs, but he is playing the initiator. There's a common IGL role. Maybe he could pick it up. That's probably the reason why I was
You need somebody
thinking
to step up. Yeah.
you need somebody to step up because right now, I mean, you look at the Japanese teams we have seen, right? It's been Zeta and Crazy Raccoon. At least when you're talking about the top level, DFM have never really been there just yet. So there's a small pool of experienced players left in Japan. You have to take new people in, and I think that's going to be a big thing moving forward into this whole roster mania thing. We got about what, a week and a half, 2 weeks before that day, and I don't know how do you phrase this? What's the biggest I think thing that we could expect to surprise us that could happen into this roster mania?
I don't know
More
why.
players retiring.
Yeah, yes. Oh, dude, you read my
That's
mind. You
actually
took
scary.
them right.
What did you say?
Okay.
Who?
I said more,
More
players,
players retiring. Well,
Like,
this is insane because at the start of this semester, I was like, I had this feeling for some reason, like this year is gonna be the last year for a lot of players, because I don't know why it feels like like a good number, like 4 years. You tried your stuff. Some of them did find success, some of them didn't, and it just feels like the perfect cutoff point for some reason for them to say, you know what, this is enough. I've tried enough, or I've won enough. Either one of those two, and we'll see more players retire. I feel, and tens and who was it? The other one that actually retired,
Sassy.
Sassy. Yeah, Sassy.
Yeah, Sassy.
It's just the start. It's just the beginning. So it's not. I hope it's not true, but it's starting to feel like roster mania here is just gonna be retire mania. Like a lot of players are just gonna announce, okay, I've done enough, guys. I'll see you guys in the next game. And I guess now is the perfect time for a lot of orgs to beef up their scouting game. They need new talent because now we're seeing a lot of the older players or the veterans. They're starting to move on from Valorant for some reason. And so it becomes more apparent that their importance should be in trying to source for these new talents. And that's why I think the question of who deserves to be in tier one is more important than ever right now. So I think the biggest surprise would be that, like what Quack said, more players are going to retired, and new names that we maybe have not heard before, especially in other regions that we don't follow closely, they'll pop up more often.
yeah, actually think about that. That's a bit of a trend this year because like the whole thing about new names, right? We had Kr1 coming into Gen G, like
From
completely
ranked.
like yeah, dude, like from ranked. For me was another one of those
Oh yeah.
guys.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
There can be so many more that we just like don't really know about, but they are somewhere, like diamonds in
Mhm.
the rough, you know, and
Mhm.
there's like so much talent, so many talents to be discovered. I don't know about like surprises per se, but I definitely have question marks in my head, you know, especially for like a lot of the big teams that we have right now. I mean, what's T1 gonna do, for example?
Oh
I mean, we talked
yeah.
about Japan, right? But T1, that's a big question that I have because they're supposed to be like such a big household name in Korean esports. Maybe not just Valorant, but Korean esports for sure. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Valorant side.
You know, that's a good point to
It's
bring up. The whole org.
There's gonna be some madness. Yeah.
I think the org being an org that kind of blinds you with the name itself is actually a good thing to bring up because sometimes, especially when you're getting a bit older, or maybe even as a new player, you might kind of prefer to go with an org that you feel like will take
Huh.
care of you instead of like
Yeah.
this might be my best shot at winning. Some players might want to defer towards what will give me the best financial support, what will give me just the best time
security.
around and security, right? And especially as Sleepy was talking about coming into year four, it's an interesting time for esports in general because that is kind of around the time where you see like a newer generation
Yeah.
come into in terms of who's playing. You don't really see the players who were dominating during year one still be the same players dominating now, not the guys who came from over from CS. No. Nowadays, you're seeing people who are a bit more endemic to Valorant, right? Started competing with Valorant and Valorant only. Players like Kr1 that you mentioned, who came out of rank, came out of nowhere, and that's going to be more and more prevalent as the time goes on, especially in this fourth year. So I think this fourth year for teams, the ones who aren't really doing well, and even the ones who are, I think they not only scouting but just I think building players, sticking with players, finding kind of academy teams that you can
Yeah.
build up and
Yep.
build that up for your future because that really will, I think, be what will help define some of these better teams coming into year 6, year 7. Right now, they might be doing well, but for the longevity,
Who
and let's not
knows?
forget, in the franchise league, you can lose your spot if you do shit the bed too bad. That will be important, I think, for longevity
Okay.
of teams and players.
And all I'm gonna say, because we're going pretty long here, and we could talk a lot about this actually, but the one thing I'm gonna say is, even though I said I've been kind of trying to avoid some of the rumors and whatnot, All I can say is if some of the stuff I'm hearing from people behind the scenes is true, buckle up in Pacific because it is going to be fucking insane. It is going to be absolute madness. Like if some of the things I'm hearing are true, you fans can't even. And I don't want to give it away because some of these sources like kind of trust me with this stuff. It is going to be all I'm going to say is it's going to be absolutely wild. Coming
You
out.
are not
We're gonna bring
prepared.
EA back again.
Dude, it is going to be bonkers. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. The other thing I
I'll
want to
take
say
your
is
word
someone's
for
got
it.
to pick Siota up. For the love of God, pick Siota up off of Fennel. I don't care who does it. Someone pick him up. He's amazing. Anyway, that's it.
You
That's
know,
I'm
I
done.
was actually surprised Fennel didn't make it. Not gonna lie, I thought that they were kind of
Yeah,
almost did.
they were the favorites
Yeah.
for
Yep.
sure.
But I mean, good job to Real Order. Well, I mean,
Well.
what is there to talk about? There isn't really much. I think we have here planned for. We obviously have things coming up after this episode. I think next big things we're going to be looking forward to is going to be Game Changers, right?
Yep.
That's going to be big. Going into Bangkok. What other topics you guys foresee us talking about? Probably the actual roster.
Ascension
The
changes.
actual
ending.
transfer window.
Yeah,
The actual,
yeah, the
roster
actual transfer
mania.
window.
Once we're actually allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. Obviously,
and
privileged information stays
Yes.
privileged for now.
stays privileged. Yeah. So
So-
I think you gotta look forward to that, guys. That could be an interesting time. And as per Paperthin's words, I'll take your word for it. It's gonna be bonkers.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Hint.
But amen. But wait, bonkers. Amen. Amen. It's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna.
That might have been a hint.
Little do you know, actually, Juandi knows the most out of all of them.
I think he does.
Oh.
That's why he's staying
That's why
quiet
he's the
right
most
now.
quiet.
Because
Yeah.
he's looking at us talking about all this shit, saying, "Ha, you guys think you know shit."
You're so wrong.
Not
So
like
wrong.
that.
Not.
I
Okay.
bet.
Cool.
Well, I mean, I think it's nice to say that has been it, folks. We have talked about a lot today. We have YAP2ASIA. Stick around for the second episode. We're going to get that coming back on in. Any final words, boys, before we close this out? No.
I'm just happy we're finally doing this. This is fun.
Quack.
I think.
Eat good food and send me pictures.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Use the
Gotcha.
Makan to Asia.
I've never been
guide.
to. Yeah, I've never been to Indonesia, so I'm a little sad. I want to see what I'm missing out on.
All right.
Although there is
all
an
right.
Indonesian restaurant close to me, and I want to try it. So we'll see.
I've heard good things about that one. I think the Paper's players
One in
like to
Hongdae.
go there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll try it.
Right
If
up.
there's one Indonesian dish that either of us have to order, which one is it?
Oh fuck!
Just one.
You
Jondi?
did not just ask me that question, dude. You did
Yes, I
not
did.
just ask me that question.
We have to hear from both Andy and
Just drop-
Johnny.
Jondi,
drop-
you think of one?
Drop Rex in our Discord chat.
Oh yeah,
And,
for sure.
yeah.
I think you should definitely go try ayam bakar, which is
Ayam
grilled
bakar.
chicken. Yes,
Yes.
I think it's
Ooh,
one of the
okay.
classics
With
in
the
Indo.
sauce on it.
Yeah, with the soy sauce on it.
I see
It's
it.
one of the most.
Ooh.
It is one of my favorites personally as well. Joandi, go ahead. One dish.
Yeah, I think it is without a doubt. It is nasi padang.
Oh yes.
Mm.
It is.
Nasi
I
padang.
think like every time that I wanna bring like someone over, like from outside
Yeah.
of Indonesia to introduce like Indonesian cuisine, that will be it.
Joandi, I think that's cheating because nasi padang isn't technically a dish. It's a restaurant where you have lots of dishes in it. So you're cheating. But
Well,
I would
That's what
agree with
nasi
him. I would agree with him. Nasi padang is definitely one of the most.
What
unique
is nasi
experiences.
padang exactly? It's
Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up after this. So nasi padang, real quick, is actually a type of restaurant here in Indonesia. It's local cuisine with a lot of dishes presented to you on a table where you pick what you want to eat and you only pay for what you eat. So there's a lot of options. There's chicken, there's fish, there's innards, there's veggies, and you can see it in the picture here. If this doesn't make you salivate, I don't know what will. I think it's one of the
Oh,
most goated
man.
things in the world. Especially
Amazing.
if you go to an Indonesian restaurant, you always have to try the sambal, which is the chili. And Indonesian chili, there's a ton of variations. And one of the best would be the green one, sambal hijau or green chili. So if you're ever at an Indo restaurant, the one that you mentioned, Paperthin, just try and order some green chili.
Okay.
They must have one.
We'll do.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. I am Bakar Nasi Padang. If you're going over to Ascension Pacific this time, make sure to try those out. Also, check out as well YAP2ASIA and VALORANT We have been YAP2ASIA this time. Hopefully, we get the second episode out by Stop Being Lazy. Maybe we'll call it 2YAP2ASIA on that second episode. Who knows? I've been blackenBlue. With me is Quack, Sleepy, Juandi, and Paperthin. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one. Adios.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.